Hello and welcome to Survive the Unexpected with your host Frank Pacino, and of course I'm here crewed up with James Hansen, Amanda Bryan, Michael Schaefer, and Hart, the non-tabulator this time.
Non-tabulated.
we are
Tabulated.
we are doing the top 20 winners. Um, so Hart decided to do a list this time, and Amanda tabulated for us. So me, James, Michael, and Hart put our top 20s in, and we're gonna talk about them. I'm gonna let Amanda take over now.
Okay, so you all submitted your list to me. I have them all ranked out, ready to go. There are going to be some hot takes, just not very many. There's only, how many did I say before? I think 26?
25, I think you said.
25, yeah, 25 winners that they all included across all of their list, which means that 21 were not included. So there will be 20 winners that we will not be talking about tonight. But it was good they included 25 because then we can do 21 through 25 as honorable mentions, and they all have them, at least included on their list. So it was kind of special and worked out that way. So I will go ahead and get started. So I will do the banner a little bit differently than what Hart or Frank do. I will put the person's name, and I'm actually going to put the golf score next to them so you guys can see how many points they added up to. That way you guys can see the point difference as we go. There you guys can see how close things were, or how far away. And then I will say your guys' rankings on them. I have them right here in front of me as well, and whether someone didn't include them on their list or did include them on their list. Are you guys ready? You guys got it? All right. We're going to start with our first honorable mention, ranked number 25. The only person that put this person on their list was Frank at number 20, and that would be Tina Wesson.
Oh.
And her golf score was 83. The lowest you can get is an 84, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, she was a good winner. I mean, solid for the old school. I feel like I had to have some old school representation in my list, and that's the person I chose.
She was my number 21, and it was between her and
A dinner person.
someone, yeah, very similar era. Yeah, I was.
I feel like I wanted to have an old school representation, and she's the one I went with.
I like
Yeah.
Tina as a winner though, but like when I'm thinking of the top 20 winners though, I'm thinking of like the powerful winners though. And I think Tina, although she was in a powerful alliance that ran the game, I don't see her as the dominant figure though. That's why she didn't make my top 20.
Yeah, I think it's fair to have her even lower than I would have had at 21 because like she didn't dominate the game by any means, but I think her game is a little bit underrated. Like some people think she shouldn't have won, but I do think she should have won. So
I mean, she flipped Kobe in the beginning, and then she was the one who decided to take Jerry out, which weakened Kobe as well. Even though Kobe was kind of dumb about Jerry.
That was a great move. I'll give her that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some solid points where she took out the other people who could oppose her other allies to make her position stronger throughout the game.
yeah,
I thought she was deserved a mention on my list. That's all.
25 is fair for her.
All right, you guys finished with Tina? Did she get enough?
Got enough.
All right. All right. So moving right along now. Number 24. Let me find her on my list here. So number 24 is our first two-time winner, but we are going to be talking about her first game. So Miss Sandra Diaz-Twine, and her golf score is 78. The rankings on this for you guys was Hart had her 20, Michael had her 20, James had her 17, and Frank didn't include her at all.
Wow. This must be like the first time they had somebody on three people's list and didn't make the top 25.
Yeah, that's tough.
I-
I did consider that season. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't consider this other one. So
I did not have Sandra on my list.
Oh, I guess I should have put. Let me re-edit that. It'd be Sandra 1.0, not just her in general.
No, she was not on my list for either game.
oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, she wasn't on my list for either game. I would say.
Sandra's 1.0 game though, I thought was a little bit better though because she's like kind of similar to Tina. She was in a powerful position within the start though, but then of course like Johnny Fairplay did Johnny Fairplay. But I think like towards the end of the merge, she really started to take control a little bit more after Krista went though, and I think that's what was like her shining moment. That's why I included her at number 20. Like I can understand her not being included though, but I do think that as like the first 2-time winner though, she needed to be included at some point. And
That's fair.
her 1-point game is better than her 2-point game, so that's why I did
I
that.
totally agree.
I was on the complete same wavelength as Hart. Like I feel like she played an okay game. Like she definitely picked it up towards the end, and like obviously I think Sandra needed to be on this list one way or another, and this was far better than the other time she won. So I threw her on at number 20.
That's fair. I didn't put it on there. Personally, I just felt like there was times where she was forgotten throughout the game. I felt like she was second nature throughout the game, and I don't think it's a bad win. I just didn't want to put it on my top 20, but I understand why you guys did.
Just remember, Frank, she can get loud too. What the fuck?
Right,
that's true. I don't think she personally got overshadowed too much, though. I think on Heroes vs. Villains she would have got overshadowed because there's so many characters there. But like I feel like on this season, other than like Johnny Fairplay and Rupert, though, I feel like she was like the next main character of that season.
Yeah, I think she was a great character at the first time, more so than the second time, but also her win was much better. Like I said, I didn't have her on because I still think that it was like in terms of winning games, like while it was a solid win, it wasn't like top 20 is like there are 20 standout winning games in my opinion, and it wasn't that. But it was a good like underdog story for like the shit she was getting out there and like for her archetype to win. And like she totally deserved it the first time.
Let's clear one thing up before we move forward. We ranked their winning games, not them as players.
Yes.
So just want to make that very clear that we didn't put Sandra's winning game of Pearl Islands or here. Well, I guess I don't know about Heroes versus, but Pearl Islands does not make the list. It's not collective.
Specific to her season 7 win.
I just want to make that clear because.
But if you look at her early pre-merge game too, though, she really, along with I would say Rupert, but more her, I genuinely believe, ran that pre-merge of that tribe.
Yeah, it's a
pretty started to move around. That's when it started to get a little rocky for her, though. But she ran that pre-merge tribe on Drake.
I think I would put this I'd probably put this where it kind of landed around the 24 mark. So
it's totally fair.
But just I think I honestly Tina and Sandra where they landed, I think they're pretty reasonable rankings throughout, to be honest.
Totally fair.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so we have our first I don't want to say hot take, but I think that Hart's going to have a lot of explaining to do because he was the only person that put this person on his list. And he has him ranked 14th. And that's going to be Wendell, place number 23 as honorable mention because nobody else put him on the list.
You don't include Wendell?
Wendell
was 77 because Hart had him all the way up at 14 and nobody else had him on
the
list.
What game did you watch?
I loved watching. Wendell was a great social player, in my opinion. He ran the social game of that. That's why, because everyone's like, oh, Dominic's running this game. Dominic's running this game. Really? Because why would it have tied then? Because Wendell really picked up his social strategy game right towards the end of that merge. And there's a reason he freaking won that game.
There's a reason why it tied.
The jury was better.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Seabass was so bitter.
Seabass was bitter.
I'm not saying Wendell's a bad player because he would have landed like probably at this spot on my list. But he was the beta of a dynamic duo. I'm sorry.
He voted incorrectly one time in the game, and that was on the Morgan vote pre-merge.
Yep. I think Wendell's a good win. I'll give you that.
I had him at 25. I just checked. I do think Dom should have won, but it was still a very good game. Like if he was the runner-up, it would have been one of the best runner-ups probably ever.
Just like Dom is.
I do take something away from like the cast he played against, and we'll see that later in my rankings, and we'll talk about it. So that's probably what left him off from 25 to like the high teens to like 20ish range for me was the cast.
I looked at the winners cast as well, but
Yeah.
sometimes I guess we won't get
Sometimes
to
it doesn't matter, but
sometimes it
like
don't matter. But
yeah. But for
Hey,
theirs,
wait,
it's like
the
putting their
iconic Angela Perkins in Fire.
as he's chewing on,
That didn't help my case at all, but I just
no,
wanted
it didn't.
No, it makes your case worse.
No, but I really did think he played. I think Dominic played the strategic game though, but he played the social game, and I really do value social games though, and that's.
They both played good. They both
Yeah.
played really good games.
Oh, for sure.
I think Dom should win, but I don't think Wendell's a bad winner.
I agree.
Okay. Can you guys see when I type? I don't think so.
No.
No.
All right. So number 22 ranked. I think almost everyone had this person on their list. Oh, I was wrong. So Hart and Michael had this person on their list, both at number 17 for the both of you. And then Frank and James didn't include him. This would be Mr. Ewell from Cook Islands with a golf score of 76.
Wow.
Listen, he had a super idol, and production rigged it for him to win the final three.
Hart walks away.
I'm not gonna walk away like Hart. That's
Wait, no, Amanda, you must have
That's why
misread my list because I had Yule on my list. So like,
Let me double check.
I'm positive I did. So
I didn't have him on my list. I don't feel bad about it at all.
Oh,
See,
I knew.
man.
here's the thing with Yule. Like, he's not a bad winner. He did get helped by having the super idol, but I think without the super idol, he probably gets to the end regardless.
But
Okay,
Like-
you did, and I don't know how I missed that. Let me see what I wrote down as you having ranked.
you said I had Sandra on
He had
too.
Sandra and he
You
didn't.
said I had Sandra and I didn't, and you said I didn't have Yule, and I definitely did have Yule.
I didn't have
worried
Yule.
I messed up.
you were correct on mine.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I think
Frank, I don't know why you're so proud about not having Yule.
because
I think that's crazy to not have Yule. I
Crazy
think that's
stuff.
wild.
because like he had a super idol, bro. Like he had the threat of the super idol, and
I don't care. He knew exactly how to leverage it,
And
he leveraged it better than Terry did.
three.
and he's one of the most strategic players of all time.
Yep.
Yeah, but like you had a
His
super
social game wasn't
idol.
that bad either.
I like it's easy to like people are like, oh, we don't want to vote for him because he has the super idol. Like he had it the whole time. Everyone knew he had it. And production changed it to a final three so he would win.
No, I don't know.
Uh,
I don't think that's the case.
they let him carry the super idol till final three.
Well, no, that was the rule of the super idol.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Yule is one of like the great strategic minds of all time. Like he led a alliance that was once in like the minority and completely flipped it to them essentially running the game to the end the way he wanted it to go. And while he did have the super idol, like I mean, it's not his fault he had the super idol. Like he had the super idol and he leveraged it perfectly. Like I think he would have played a great game without the super idol.
and all right,
That's why I had him at number. I had him at number 10. Like I said, I don't know where
we
Amanda
should
said
have
I
made the list then.
No, yeah, I put 17 on here twice, and I don't
No,
know.
I had him
I'm
at
gonna
number 10.
reconfigure, so it'll just take me 2 seconds.
All right, so
Here, I'll send it. I'll just bump what I sent you again.
No,
This
I'm
is-
looking at your list right now, James. You don't have to do that.
So we talked about Cook Islands not being on the best cast. I took the cast in consideration. I considered the super idol, and I considered the production change to final three, which the cast didn't know about until they changed it.
Yeah, I said number 10 though. I said that's like you guys might think that's a little high, but
I would have him. I would have him above Tina for sure. But no, I don't. I don't have Tina. I have Tina above him. I lied. I'd have him above Window. I would.
I think he's one of the great like strategic winners of all time, and I think he is such a likable guy. And like, if Ozzy wasn't there, he probably does win a handful of those challenges. Like,
yeah, I mean, and
he
look,
is a
listen, I'm not a big Ozzy guy, so I'm not trying to parade Ozzy.
I
But
can't believe you left Yule out. I thought Yule was a lock for all four of our lists.
So did I.
Oh,
I thought I might
100%.
have him. I thought I might.
I
have him.
knew when I left him off, I was like, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but I don't care. I just don't, I'm not a big fan of the Super Idol, man.
No, I mean
And-
I can understand. I can understand being like the
I
hate
get
on
it.
the Super Idol.
I understand it.
Like I get the hate on the Super Idol though, but like him being able to pull Penner back to his side with the Super Idol though, that's not just a Super Idol. That's also him playing the game.
I
Here's
agree,
what
but I think
I'm saying.
Penner's an idiot. So like, like it's not that hard to play
You speak
Penner.
ill on Jonathan Penner.
Penner is a great guy, bad
He's great.
Survivor player.
He's also a Penner hater too.
Okay, so I know what I
am.
did wrong. I switched. You know what? I'll say that when we get to that person.
Cool. Okay.
All right, we'll move on.
All right. Well,
It honestly did not change much at all. It
Wait.
really just bumped Yule. Yule would be number 17 if I were to
Okay.
configure.
Okay, so we'll keep that in mind.
So it would bump.
We just talked about him a lot, so it's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, we'll just keep
He's
we'll
number
keep going
17.
with what Amanda's got.
My bad.
You're good.
I apologize. I really should have submitted my list to one of you guys and had you double check it.
You should have had like somebody else do it, like or help you double check.
It's
No,
bad.
not do it. I said double check it, not us.
Oh,
Sorry,
It's Mac. People make mistakes. Hart made a mistake
Yeah.
on one of them, so we
it's
can
not
move on.
that big of a deal.
I did.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
like, don't ask one of us do it because then we'll see the list. That's all.
oh, yeah.
So either way, I think the next two people would have been off the list. So we can keep
Correct.
that in mind.
Yes.
That's controversial.
Here we go.
Oh no. Okay, so bumping Yule up. Oh. Number 22 at a golf score of 75. This person, number 20 on James' list, 19 on Frank's, 15 on Michael's, and not on Hart's at all, will be Mr. Brian.
I thought I might have been the only one to have him just because he's so scummy that people might not want to
Yeah.
include him.
He's a scumbag.
honestly-
He played a good
He
game.
honestly may have deserved to been higher, but the fact that he played against such stupid people,
Yeah.
and that he only won 4-3 against such a goat in Clay, like,
Yeah.
but like you can't take
That's exactly why I kept him off. Like
and,
he
but I,
dominated the game though, but it was like, did you really though when you almost lost to Clay Jordan?
he always had those four
He's played
jerseys,
Jordan.
I think so. So I think that's what mattered. Like, and I think Brian knew that. And the other thing is, like, among his alliance, which was like the final five of the game, I think it was Ted, Helen, Jan, and then Clay and him. All of those people thought Brian was their final two. Like, he was like, he basically, like, they were all buying what he was selling essentially. So I mean, he played a really dominant game. It's just he's not my cup of tea, but
Yeah.
He's
I
making us
think
mistake.
he dominated a terrible cast. And he's a terrible person.
Which is different from we're gonna get to people who dominated a terrible cast but are not terrible people. So
Yeah, I honestly I had him higher on my list, and then I was like, I just don't like him, so I got
It's
moving
so
down.
hard.
I got moving down.
I
and was
initially
like,
had him in the top 10, and then I looked at people. I'm like, I like these other people better. So I
Like he literally wasn't even considered for All Stars because Jeff literally it says on Wikipedia, which I know it's Wikipedia, but Jeff was so disgusted with the thought of having him back. And this is before all that stuff.
yeah.
I mean,
So
he's look at his job when he played. He was a used car salesman.
yeah.
He played
that's
the
exactly
used
what
car.
he
That's
was.
how he
not
played.
to shame all the used car salesmen out there. Not to shame you.
I-
But
He's the used car salesman from Matilda that like his dad.
no,
he
that's literally what he
reversed the mileage on cars.
No, I couldn't bear the thought of having him on my list. I understand, but like every single person hated him on the jury for the way that he acted and treated people in the game. And I think jury management is a huge thing when it comes to a winner, though. I think the only reason he won was because he was sitting next to a goat like Clay.
Such a goat.
I
Yeah.
almost lost.
Like imagine if he's sitting next to Jan and Jan wins the game, and we're talking about Jan Gentry as the winner.
No, Jan should be in the bottom 5.
It'd make a terrible season much
Does
worse.
I wonder if Jan beats Brian. To be honest, just because she's more likable.
I don't, because I think Brian always had those jury votes against like Like I think Helen beats Brian,
Helen
but
beats Brian.
all the
Helen
other
beats
people.
Mhm.
Like I think he beats Ted and Jan as well as with Clay. So
I want to think about Jan Gentry as a winner of Survivor. That's all I'm gonna do. So.
yeah, that's a great alternate universe. Yeah.
Don't forget the first. Don't forget the first boot, Pastor John Raymond.
All right, Amanda, let's go to 21. Our
All
last
right,
honorable
guys.
mention.
So this particular placement, okay, actually tied with number 20, but because Hart and James did not put this person in their top 20, it fell to 21, and that would be. You guys want to guess before I put it? You guys want to guess?
I have a guess.
Oh, let's see.
Yam Yam.
No, it is Tommy.
What?
Yeah, I almost included him. He was very close, and honestly,
I had him like 9.
Yeah, Amanda? Where did me and Frank have him?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say the rankings. Yeah, so Frank had him number 11, and Michael had him number 19.
11.
He's
For
one of the
Tommy?
greatest one-time players of all time.
I thought Frank was going to be the
I
only
figured
one.
Frank was gonna have him high. Listen, I think Lauren was a better player than Tommy. I think if she got to the end, she would have beat Tommy. But
That's the
Tommy's still-
problem.
I didn't think Michael would have him. I thought like Frank would be the only one, and I thought I'd be the only other person hyping Tommy up. But like Tommy in a game that was so loaded with advantages,
had none.
he didn't win any immunities. He didn't have never went to Island of the Idols. He never got votes against him. Besides that split tribal where he almost certainly should have went home
Yes.
over Missy. That was such a screw up by Elaine and Karishma to keep Tommy that night. But it was like essentially like
He sat at the end with, let's make an analogy, Nora and DK chillin', and still didn't win unanimously.
Well, that's because the jury's idiots. Okay,
all right, but
he
Tommy
should have
played
won
it really
unanimously.
Playing
All
the
right, so
jury?
listen.
I probably should have had him on my list.
Yeah. This is how I feel. All right, Dan's a scrum bad. Before I get there, Tommy was playing under the assumption that Dan was going to be in the game. So Lauren, she was going to be voted out earlier because he had Dan as his GOAT. But because Dan got removed from the game, that pushed things back further. He outplayed her every step of the way. She took out people that were her people because Tommy wanted it to happen and made her weaker. So that way, when the time came to pass, he would get rid of her. I think that his plan was always to get rid of her, and it would have happened earlier if Dan didn't get removed from the game. Now, Dan deserved to be removed from the game, but he was playing under the assumption Dan wasn't going to be removed from the game. So
yeah, his ideal final three was DK chillin' and Dan, I believe.
Correct. And Dan was
that outcome. Dan would have been 0 votes, and DK chillin' would have got 2. Same
Yeah,
exact
so-
outcome.
It should have been Dan. It should have been Dan and Nora.
I think the difference between Tommy and Lauren's game is like Lauren's. They were both great social players, but Lauren's was almost like she was a great social player because she's just so likable. Where Tommy was a great social player, but like it was because he got to build such great relationships with people, and that was like almost part of his strategy. So like his social game was almost strategic as well, I think, where Lauren's wasn't. But I think Lauren still probably beats him in the end because she's more likable than him.
Mhm.
And I think Lauren was still great because they're both really good social players, I think.
So, Hart, what makes Wendell a better player than Tommy?
He's not. Well, he walked away, but
He walked away. Okay, that was an honest question. I'm curious. I don't what his.
I'm
opinion
curious
is.
to hear his answer too because to me, he's not.
He's not, and that's my thing. Like you're talking about a hypothetical. Like he only lost 2 votes. He convinced the wild card of all wild cards to take him to the end, which he shouldn't have been able to do. Now,
Sorry, it was time for the non-tabulators potty break. What was the question about?
What makes Wendell a better player than Tommy?
I think Wendell is a better player than Tommy though, because I think personally he had a better social game, in my opinion.
I disagree.
No, Tommy's
better. Tommy had no advantages. Wendell had advantages. He won no immunities. Wendell won immunities. He did all his work with no immunity. He was vulnerable to be voted out every round, and because of his social game, his strategic game, he got no flack.
And Tommy's season,
He didn't catch a vote all season, right?
Tommy's season
Not
was
the
just
split
as
one.
loaded with advantages. Only at the split tribal where he should have went home, essentially. Like most 99%
I
of
think
the
competent
time.
players would have voted him out.
Correct.
Yeah.
I have zero regrets about not adding him to my list.
I have zero regrets for putting him on my list.
Either. I probably, now that we're talking about it more, I should have had him.
I love Tom. Tommy's.
I'm not gonna fold.
He played the antithesis of a new School Survivor game in New School Survivor.
Yeah, season loaded with advantages. He
didn't have a single one, and he still got through.
Yeah.
That point's fair. That point's fair. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and that's impressive. I mean, of recent winners,
I think they said he was the first winner since idols have come into play to not have an idol or win an immunity challenge.
He probably would have been like, in reality, he probably would have been between 21 and 25 for me.
I think Tommy, the season holds Tommy back from being held into a higher status than
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's my biasness towards the season though, but and that's why I didn't see him as as strong of a winner as the other people though. But at least everybody on my list though that's gonna come up, I can justify 1000%.
That's fine. And I think honestly, I know it's hard to say if, but the Dan situation handled earlier and Tommy wins this way, I think it's held on a better season and better reputation. But because
mid-season,
but because the Dan stuff constantly happened and they had results of it, and they did nothing, and they finally did do something when it was far too late.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, they made him. What was he? Final 6? He was removed.
Yep. Day 30.
Ridiculous. That's probably one of the biggest Survivor mistakes they've ever done by production.
Oh, by far.
Disgrace that he was not removed at the merge.
Right. When they literally have a production member talking to her and say, are you uncomfortable? And you just see it all over her face. She shouldn't have to say, yeah, he's making me feel uncomfortable. She's already told you more than once.
And the shitty thing about that whole thing is the way I described that season is pretty good gameplay going on while there's just a huge dark cloud over top the entire time. Because that's what the season feels like when you watch it.
Yeah. It's just one of the, it's probably, if not the worst, it's close 1, 2, 3 of the worst things production's ever done. Let's not remove him sooner.
Yeah. I think it's the worst, but
it's probably is.
I agree.
I'm
tired of talking about Island of the Idols.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right.
Get into the real top 20, man.
The real top 20.
I just want to let you know I already had a number before you told me. So.
I know. I'm just
no, you didn't. Okay. So now we're going to be starting our top 20 list. Number 20. This person obviously was tied with number 21 and point wise, but because Michael was the only one that didn't put them on the list and the other 3 did, it ranked it a little bit higher. Number 20 coming in is Christy from Vanuatu. Hart had him ranked number 19, Frank number 18, and James number 14. Michael didn't include him at all.
Damn, Chris from Vanuatu. Damn.
Listen, it's nothing against Chris. He has a good story for a winner, but
is it because they lost the numbers in the merge right at the beginning for you?
He was a dead man. He was a dead man walking almost that entire merge, and got there because the women couldn't stop fighting with each other.
I just felt he should have been a dead man walking, and he used the fighting to maneuver his way to the end.
That's the thing, though. The game is
I'm not going to lie.
You have to use what's going on in the game to help your own game,
and
I think that's what he did. And I think that's what.
Yeah, and I think his game is so impressive. While I don't think the cast was all that great that he was going against, he was a dead man walking, and he completely flipped it around because of the infighting with the woman, and he was able to use the chaos around him and laugh his way to the end of the game, and just able to sell this great story at the end. And I do think I had him at 14th. I think his FTC takes a couple boost a couple spots for me because it was so good, and I think it also just like I think a great FTC also a lot of the time for me has to justify a great game because you can't just have a great FTC and not play the great game, but like his FTC summed up why his game was so great, and like he faced adversity so many times, but like there were so many times where he could have been voted out and took complete control because of the idiocy going around him. So yeah,
He had really
and
strong game insight too. Like he
yeah,
knew, like although he got a lot of hell for cutting Julie at 5, it was the smarter move to go with Scout and Twilight though, because they were the least likely people to win a jury. So like he really knew what was the best move for him, and that's why I think his game was so impressive. Like I understand beginning of the merge. If he didn't make the list, I would have understood it because like the girls took advantage right at the beginning of the merge, but whenever he had the opportunity to sweep in, he ran that from Final 7 on.
and I mean he was almost the first boot of the season too. He had
And
to
he
get
was,
the
yeah. His
he had to
story arc
get
is
like
great.
the not fit guys together to form a majority 5-4 to vote out. I think it was Brooke the first boot because they were going for Chris first because he didn't do well in the challenge. So like for me, the fact that he faced so much adversity and then took so much control, like puts him as high as I had him on my list. I think it justifies it.
Yeah. Mammers, can I ask, is the letter after the number saying who didn't have it on the list? I love that.
See,
Correct. I did
Loving
that.
the fight.
I
I
did
love
that
it.
for ties.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Loving the fights.
like I'm not saying Chris is a bad winner. I'm not trying to make points of why he's not very good. He was probably number 21 on my list. Like, but I see the flaws. I know none of you had him like extremely high, but I'm not upset he made the top 20.
Do you see the
Absolutely.
argument of having him back for Winners at War? Like, should he have been back for Winners at War?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought he would.
What you mean? You would have rather seen a competent player instead of Ben or Nick?
Yeah.
I would have 1,000% rather seen Chris there than Ben any day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or Nick. Yeah.
All right, let's go to number 19.
19.
All right. So number 19 is going new school for the first time. We have Hart having it at 15, Frank having it at 17, and then Michael and James didn't have it on their list at all with the collective score of 74, and that would be Jam Jam.
I had a feeling some people wouldn't have Jam Jam on the list, though. I really like Jam Jam's game, especially like maybe it was presented more in confessionals, but like whenever Jam Jam at the beginning of the merge was saying, right on this one round with Josh, this person voted for me, and this person voted for me, and this person voted for me, and then they went out, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, that's impressive. That's very, very impressive. And then I think he really like honed in. Like, granted, I think the Tiga 3 kind of skating by did help him a little bit, but I think he was the more strategic minded of those three. So like once that was the final 3, although the world loved Carolyn, Jam Jam deserved to win that. He really did. Michael just rolled his eyes. I don't know.
No.
I think Jam Jam was better than Carson.
Over Carolyn.
I think Jam Jam was better than Carson.
Jam Jam was the strategic mind of the Tiga 3. I personally believe that.
I think Carson was more strategic.
I think Jam Jam's better than Carson, but Carson gets more of the strategic credit, although Jam Jam won.
I also think Carson would beat Jam Jam at the end.
I do think he's a really good
I do agree with that.
And I think like what Hart said is that the best thing about him was that he was able to, like, as soon as people were out for him, like he was dead set on getting that person out, and he was able to get his way with it. And he set it up basically where like Carson was always going to be perceived as the bigger, like, strategic minded threat than him. So like Jam Jam was better set up to make it to the end and win out of the Tika 3, I think, because they were always going to beat Carolyn. So
yeah, I think I don't want to say anything too close, but he's one of the better winners of the new era.
he just missed mine. But.
Yeah, I think he had a pretty good grip of the game from early on until the end of the game. Now, was he in danger during the split? Yes, but I think Matt was always going to go there. Um, and uh, having Carson and Carolyn, and it just baffled my mind for one that those three never got targeted. But I think it was a good job by all three of them that the others felt like they needed them around, which is just it's impressive by all three. I think Carolyn's not the greatest player in the world, but she did have her moments. I don't think she's the worst player in the world, but I don't think she's the greatest either. But she did do some things in there to help with the take of three. Um, I think each of them helped within that group, and there's a reason why they're one like they were one fire making challenge away from being all final three, which would have been crazy to happen.
Yeah.
That would have been a great final three between Carson and Jam Fam. I would have loved to see that.
I just checked. I had him at 22, but I think I said it.
I had him like 23.
Yeah, would I have him at 18? You said right, Amanda?
You have him at 17.
17.
Yeah, I think it's a good range. We have 19 on the overall list.
I will say he is my favorite New Era winner for sure.
He's definitely a great New Era winner, though. I think I think a lot of people are high on him though because it was Erica, who's not bad but not good. Marianne, who's not bad but not good. Gabler.
We might get into Gabler towards the end of this episode.
Right.
I will spoil it for you guys. Gabler's not on the top 20 list. I know you're disappointed.
Ah, damn. But then we had those three and then Jam Jam. And I think that was the first time that people left and were like, I'm happy with this winner.
People actually thought a good player won a New Era
Right.
Survivor.
Right.
I mean, we already had a really good winner in the 41.
Yeah, Marianne. Okay, we can move on.
He's number 18, man.
Okay. So, number 18 is also very unique because 3 people did not put this person on their list and 1 person did. And 1 person put it so high that it brought it all the way up to the golf score of 66. Now, remember, our last person was 74, and this person is all the way up to, 66 with just 1 person having it on their list. And that would have been Michael that had it on his list, and the only person that had it on his list at number 13, and that would be Denise.
Wow.
No, I also had Denise.
Oh, I'm sorry. James did 11. I'm sorry. James did as well,
I was
11.
going to say the numbers weren't working there.
Yeah.
But I was
Say
gonna
the
say,
number.
Correct. Yes,
He
yes.
wouldn't have been.
James had it at 11. Michael had it at 13. Frank and Hart did not have her on their list at all.
How do you know?
I believe she was in my. I think she was in my honorable mentions.
I think she was, Frank.
So
She attended every single tribal council. I mean,
yeah,
She really embodied Soul Survivor.
she wanted to go to the end with Malcolm. She would have lost to Malcolm.
kicks her ass at the end.
and she would have lost to Malcolm. He kicks her ass, but she totally deserved to win out of the people there, and
I agree.
everyone else, these people were voting out nobodies and goats instead of Denise and Malcolm, and in the edit, it was clear the whole time watching it for the first time that these people cannot not only let Malcolm get to the end, but they can't let Denise get to the end either. And
It
they let her
started
get
at final
to the end.
7 when
So,
Hart.
to me, that makes her worthy
Kenner
of
said,
number
if you get Kenner said at final 7, you get rid of me tonight, you're handing $1 million to one of these 2 people, pointing at Malcolm and Denise. They should have been the first 2 people targeted at merge after surviving that disaster of a tribe. And they knew they would have the story if they got to the end, and they let both of them get to the final 4.
But it was one of those 2 people. It wasn't just Denise. That's why she's not on my list, though, because they were always together, and Malcolm was seen as the stronger player.
Yeah, and Denise caught him at final 4.
Listen,
She
She
wouldn't
wouldn't have.
if
She wouldn't have if he didn't throw her under the bus too. But I will defend that. But I still think it's a great game that she played.
I didn't think she
her
played a
Awesome
bad
game she
one.
played.
I just
great game.
she won because of Scoopin. She really should be thanking Scoopin with all her hope because Scoopin's an idiot. If they would have voted,
she was smart to align with the idiot.
yeah. I think she's a really good winner. I don't think I just my big concern is so I think Carson might have beat Jan Jan, but there was a good chance Jan Jan would have beat Carson at the end. I think there was 0 chance for Denise to win if she sat in the end with Malcolm.
Yeah, and that's totally true. But
Yeah.
I think that
The way the end game went, that scenario was never going to happen.
Well, it would have happened if Malcolm just said, "Yeah, let's go to fire."
No, but
Like,
like Scoopin and Lisa literally handed the game to Denise because everybody knew those two weren't going to turn on each other. So
when they did
Final
not
Four,
vote out Denise at Final Five.
Malcolm and Denise
You
had.
know,
I
Abby.
mean, that was a bad move too. But Malcolm and Denise had no other choice than to vote for each other at Final Four, and they took out the stronger player. So they handed the game to Denise right there.
Well,
Yes, but if they voted out Denise, then they're handing the game to Malcolm.
but Denise wanted to go to fire, and Malcolm did not. And
Yes.
Malcolm tried to convince the other two to vote out Denise,
Vote out
which was
Denise,
a dumb move. He should have
Very
went to fire against Lisa. He would have went against the fire against Lisa, not even Scooping, and he would have beat her.
So while Malcolm played a great game, he really screwed up the end because, like, he screwed up in the final.
He fumbled pretty bad.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
he fumbled the final four like as bad as you could, but like he played so good until that point, which clearly would have beaten Denise. But like for me, like just where she is like I feel like the overall story of her going to every tribal almost boost her game by default. So I think that just justifies like how hot she is.
I completely understand why you guys have her on our list. I don't think she's a bad winner at all. I preferred other people. I think she was like 23 or something for me.
She would have been she would have been definitely in the 20s for sure. But
Yeah.
I don't think she was top 20 for me ever.
In terms of like favorite, like this is the list of who I think is like the best, like on paper, like as a player. Like in terms of like how much I love them, Denise is probably in my top 5 of favorite winners.
Completely fair.
Yeah.
I know Philippines.
I'm with Michael. I'm pretty sure I have Denise very high on my winners list. For
I think you did too.
For 11. Yeah.
All right. Are you guys done talking about Denise?
Yeah.
As much
So
as
we already did 17, which is Yule.
I know.
Okay.
We already did 17, which was Yule. Golf score 65, and then number 16. We're gonna go all the way back the other direction now, and let's see. This is really surprising because one of you has this person in your top 10, and one person doesn't have them on their list at all.
Oh, this is the one we were talking about the other day.
And this is going to be Hart having it at number 6, Michael having it at 18, Frank not having it on his list at all, and James having it at 19, and that would be Mr. Richard Hatch.
What?
Really, Frank?
Franklin!
I don't. I told you I wanted one representation of old school. I chose Tina. I think Tina played a better game.
Hatch's game is more revolutionary. Revolutionary, and it had to be included for that. That's why 19.
Not even
fair.
close.
He was playing with somebody doing the alphabet strategy. Okay.
Hey, don't knock the alphabet strategy.
And he was the first person
he was playing with.
Huh?
All right. Rich went out there and decided I want these people are all in the way of like me winning $1 million. Like I want to do what I can to win, and like it made the show what it is. So like by default, I feel like I had to have him here because like he played a strategic game amongst people who didn't, and it led to winning a strategic game. And he was also able to bomb with people who weren't like him and stuff. So like maybe I could have had him even higher. Like I see why Hart having him where he had him.
He created the alliance in Survivor.
All right, so I had Rich at 23. I had Yule got 21, Denise at 22, Wendell at 24.
Let's let Hart talk about him because he had him.
Yeah, Hart had him very high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, he created the alliance. Oh, I am spotlighted. All right. Hello, everyone. He created the alliance in Survivor. That's the first season. That's the first time it ever happened because they literally went into the merge saying, let's not do alliances. And River said, screw that. We're doing alliances because this is what's going to win this game. He was the first person to epitomize literally what we know as modern Survivor with alliances. He ran the entire merge portion of that game with that concept. And then you go into the, thank you for not focusing on me anymore. Literally went into Final 5. Who's going to take him out? They weren't going to take him out because Wigglesworth was going to just vote out Sue. She wasn't going to tie it. He ran the game. I don't think he's on the highest level as like some of the other people talk about like towards the top of the list though. But he literally created what we know as modern Survivor with alliances.
You absolutely cannot. You cannot have a top 20 winners list and not have Richard Hatch on the list somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're talking to you, Frank.
I listen. I get it. I probably deserve it, but like I said, I am 23. That was on my honorable mention. I didn't have them far off. It just I took account into the cast, and yes, it was the first season, so you got to give it a little bit of slack. There were just other people I preferred.
I took account of the cast too. I would have had him even higher if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I chose. I wanted one representation of old school on my season ranking, and I chose ultimately Tina over Rich, only for the fact that she was able to flip alliances in the pre-merge, and she was able to weaken Colby's. She was the first person to. She again changed the game. She bounced it and took people out that was from her original tribe during the season, and Jerry and stuff like that. So I took account of that she had a better cast she was playing against too, not by a ton, but she did. I mean,
I
you
get
guys
that
are
argument.
Yeah,
I get that
she
argument
did.
though, but
She did.
Tina wouldn't have been able to have alliances without Richard Hatch, who invented the idea of alliance in Survivor.
but it's just fair. I ultimately chose. I was between Tina and Richard, and I went with Tina.
You chose poorly.
Amanda, would you have had Hatch?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna keep the controversy going, okay? Because why not?
Oh,
This next person is a tie again, for 15 and 14. But the reason why this person is 15 and not 14 is because Michael didn't put them on their list.
oh no.
And Frank has this person ranked number 6, Hart at number 13, and James at number 18. So we're all over the board with this one, and that would be Cochran.
Oh God!
How'd you not have Cochran? He
I am a
dominated.
kid. I didn't want to put him, but he played a perfect game, so I had to put him in. I hate him. I hate his season. So Michael, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, Michael. I don't blame you. I didn't want to put him on my list.
He played a
you guys
perfect
can talk
game.
about him.
Frank, this is the one that I was like, how does he have him ranked number 6? I got to hear the story.
He played a perfect game.
Six. Frank has him six.
We're
counting on my list. Besides that, he sucks.
We counted the game, right? He dominated the game from start to finish, and then got every single jury vote. Didn't receive a vote. He dominated the game. We're ranking dominating their winning game. His winning game was perfect. Enough said.
You know what he did, Frank? He played Friend Fiverr. He went out there and played with Don the whole time.
Hey, he has $1 million in the bank account, and we don't.
Here's my one issue. I have one issue. So that the fans tribe was total duds, and then the favorites tribe was like half duds. So all right, there's basically Malcolm, Cochran,
Andrea,
and Brenda. Essentially, the season was set up like one of these people is going to win the season. It's just which one is it going to be?
And like, Philip was there.
You knew going to that season, one of those 4.
Philip and Corinne.
Andrea, Brenda, Cochran, and Malcolm. One of the 4 of them was winning.
Yeah, because Philip and Brandon and
you could have counted Malcolm out because none of them knew who he was, so he wasn't going to get out.
Okay. There's somebody on this list that I know we're going to talk about later, and I want to compare Cochran's game with that person's game.
So he's worthy of being here just because he did play a perfect game and he did dominate, but like I don't like him that much, and I don't like the season at all, or how easy it was set up for him to win takes away from me. So that's why he barely makes the list for me, even though he did play.
Well, when Jeff Probst is having wet dreams about him, what do you expect?
Listen, the cast sucks. The season's not very good, but he played a perfect game, and I feel like somebody who plays a perfect game deserves to be in the top 20.
No, he really played a perfect game though, and I genuinely believe that he deserves to be there. Granted, I understand the cast. Like, I mean, we had some icons on the cast, like Sherry, great iconic character, but I mean, like he really did get himself into a situation though where he was going to dominate the game with a jury because everyone saw that he was doing stuff, but everyone still wanted to work with him though, and I think that's exactly why you have to include him here. Do I think he's a top 10 player? Personally, no, but I do
We're
think
not
that
ranking players; we're ranking their winning games. I
you know what
just
I'm
want to
okay.
make that.
That's what I meant to say. I'm so sorry.
I'm making that clear. I'm not saying he's
Okay,
a top 10
winning
player.
games. No, winning games. Yes, but like, do I think he's a top 10 winning player? No, but I do think he needs to be included though for playing a perfect game though and being able to get himself in a situation though where he would have won a perfect game.
And
Listen, if any of the five of us were out there, we could have played a perfect game that season.
and I
Then
will
you
say
guys
something.
talk about me on this list.
I'll
That's
say
what
something I'll say something positive about him. Like, so the first time he did play really bad, and he was very timid and not sure of himself out there. And this time he went out there and, like, while I said he was set up, it was probably him or like 3 or 4 other people probably were going to win the season from the start. Like, he went out there and he played with some confidence. Like the first time he was scared of his own shadow, and the second time like he was out there to win, and like he was sure of himself. It was a very good like coming of age
He
like
learned his
from the first
lessons.
time. So I appreciated it. Yeah,
I think he's one of the most
even though I don't like him that much.
What to
Smooth-
do? He wasn't a pussy this time.
Yeah, he was one of the most improved players of a return ever. I mean, come on, like he was terrible
sure.
this first season,
For sure.
and he
wasn't
won
that
the
great
game the
second time.
next with the perfect game. Like that's everybody wants for their second time or even their first time. So
I don't know. He did nothing impressive out there. Sorry, he just didn't.
Okay, so moving on. Our next person is kind of the opposite. Even though they have the same golf score of 58, you guys have this winner ranked a lot more closely. You guys were actually only 4 places apart between all of you. So Hart has this ranked number 12, Michael at 14, Frank at 16, and James at 16 as well. And that would be D from Survivor 45.
Way better winner than Cochran.
I love D.
You can't say that when she should have been voted out at Final Five.
But she wasn't, because then a lot of the winners should have been voted out at Final Five and weren't. And to me, what makes her the best new era winner over Jam Jam is that like Dee was the front runner and like it should have been seen for a while, and she was still able to maneuver there and win the game. So like to me, Dee's game was almost like pure dominance. So yeah.
D mastered the strategy of knowing when to sit back, observe everything going on, get yourself in a powerful alliance where you're not going to be seen as the power player here, and then take control when you need to. She was insulated perfectly, literally from the beginning of the game onward. She got in that alliance. Everyone was going to see Drew and Austin running the game, but then she took control when she needed to. She was iconic in that season, and she is the best new era player by far.
By far.
Her move with Julie taking out Emily was one of probably the move of the season. For one, she told Julie, "Hey, play your idol. Don't say anything to anybody, and you have to vote for Emily." Like that, and she did it. That's a boss move because like Julie is like, I should do Austin, which would have been the correct move for Julie, but Dee convinced her to do the wrong move and then vote out Emily.
Yeah, but still, Emily was a number for Drew and Austin, and so that did still affect their games and help Dee's games.
Which helped Dee get the numbers to blindside Drew the next week.
Correct.
Yep.
So it was the best move for Dee to get rid of Emily so she could take out Drew. Austin was her other person that she was dragging along, and she's like, Austin will never go against me, but she did not. And she did some impressive moves. The only thing that I can fault her is the final 5 round where she should have went home, but Kataro's an idiot. That's the only thing I can hold against her. So
Yeah, but there was nothing D did that round to get herself voted out.
all she had to do was vote Julie. She refused to vote Julie. Because on a tie vote, Julie goes home.
No.
No,
It would
I
have been
think
tie, it would have been tie between Julie and D. Jake and Katara vote D.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
right.
I don't think there's anything that
Katara,
saved D that round besides Katara being a moron.
Katara just would
There's
have done
nothing
what
D
Jake.
did to get herself voted out there besides being.
Katara just would have done what Jake, who isn't even a good player, saw was the obvious thing to do right there.
Yeah.
D would have went home there. But
Jake,
like,
who's not a good player, versus Katara, who's even worse.
I do take some away from that, but I do think D is so good, and like
Yeah.
I think before she was like in the spotlight, being flashy and making these big moves, I think her intuition on the game was so good as well. Like we always saw her in the confessionals, like she always knew exactly what was going on the entire game.
I think
Like
the nice thing about D
the
though
whole
is that
time.
I mean, a lot of us were watching, and I know like us five specifically, like we were watching 45 very closely, and I don't think really until like mid-merge, none of us really considered D to be a winner contender of that game. And then like once it got to like maybe like final 7, final 8, and then we're all kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe it could be her though. So I'm not. Do I think that's the best winner? No, but I think that's like kind of like, oh my gosh, she's doing so much more to kind of shock the rest of us though, and then she just kept that control the rest of the game.
She was the one person not picked in our fantasy draft that season.
Yeah, I
crazy,
was
down to me. I had between D and Julie were the last two picks for me. Literally flipped a coin and I got Julie.
That's like
she just gave me pretty girl who doesn't care about the game vibes like pre-game, and she totally proved that.
Yeah, I picked her as my first boot. I picked her as my first boot of the season. I've never been that wrong on a player before, where I picked someone to be first boot and they won the game very impressively too. So it's not like she won and she was a joke. She won and she won.
She won. She was the best player on that season.
So like I was completely wrong on her. I apologized to her during that podcast. Now I'll apologize again. D, I'm so sorry.
And I will never forget me being drunk in Parts of Reality and literally telling her, "You need to work it out with Austin. Austin is amazing."
And what was D and who was D doing at that time? Oh yeah.
Let's move on.
I'm so sorry, D, for being drunk and approaching you.
While Wendell was telling me about his girlfriend and his baby. Okay, now we're gonna continue on.
We're gonna watch the podcast and we're gonna get so much hate.
I think Wendell's more upset about being omitted from the top 20. So. Well,
he got what he deserved.
Literally. Okay, so moving on to number 13. Let me get my list back out here. All right, another all four on the list, and then two of these people have them in their top 10. Frank having them at 15, James having them at 17, Michael having them at 9, and Hart having them at 10. That would be Sarah Lucina with a golf score of 52.
So low on Sarah for game changers?
I don't like game changers that much, and it was to me like I said, it's almost Cochran-ish set up to win, but I like her. I think her game's more impressive than Cochran. But you guys can go on more with her.
It's not. She played a far better game than Cochran. It's not even close.
I agree too.
I clearly disagree, but I think Sierra is a really strong winner.
Sarah.
That's why I said Sarah.
You said Sierra.
Oh, Sarah. Sarah is a very strong winner.
Sierra Dawn Thomas has one game change. Congratulations.
No. I'd give up.
She voted out her mom.
Wrong Sierra.
Wrong Sierra.
Oh, the wrong. Oh, that one.
Sierra would have been a good winner at some point.
But no. So, I mean, she was gonna be voted out with the Vantage get in. I believe she was in trouble that round.
I mean, the advantage she would have been voted out.
I think
there was no advantage.
Perfect middle game.
If there was no advantage, she was voted out that round. And like Sari probably wins the season if that shit doesn't happen. And like that's like I have her 15. It's not like I have her like all time low, guys.
No, you don't have her.
I don't have an issue where you put her.
Okay.
I think I had her the highest, right, Amanda? I think.
Yeah, I mean James had the lowest at 17, and then Michael had the highest at 9. So.
Yeah, like she played. She was not the big personality that some of the people on that cast were. going in, but she fucking dominated. That game when it got to merge was 2 clear sides, and she straddled the middle so hard
Yeah,
both
her
sides
middle game
put
was
her
great.
out because they knew they needed her.
I did love her getting the legacy advantage. That was baller.
That
Yeah.
was so,
That
and
was
then
a great.
Michaela stopping away from the vote steal and Sarah going over and taking it.
Oh, that was so good.
Like she learned from her
She
mistakes the
not
first time
doing
she
that.
played. It was a lot
How
more
did she
observing,
not
a lot
get
more
caught?
cool, calm, and collected this time.
How the fuck did she not get caught doing that?
And she was able to. Didn't Sierra Don Thomas will her the
Yeah.
legacy advantage?
But
Yeah,
And
but,
she called her
I-
out.
I would have bet every
But there
dollar
was-
I had she was giving that
I
to
was like, so Sarah's game was, I think, so good because like even the people she was voting out like thought that she was like one of her closest.
She completely duped Sierra into thinking that
Yeah.
she was on her side. She's
Yeah.
like, I hope she didn't dupe me, but I'm going to give this to Sarah. And I'm like, you are so dumb.
And the only reason why Sierra
To me,
got in
that was
trouble was
the most
because
impressive
she
thing
told
she did.
Sarah about it. She
Yep,
was
and then
thinking
Sarah got the
around.
plan to vote Sierra out, so she
Yeah.
got the legacy advantage.
You never told
Like,
anybody
what?
about that.
No, like don't. I
I feel
can
like that's
will
just
it.
how good she was.
Yeah, she was. Sarah is a really good winner, strong winner. You can't have a top 20 list to me without having her on as a winner.
I'm glad we all had her.
Mhm.
And I think though, like I think someone compared her to Cochran earlier. Is that I think
I
her game is a
do.
little bit different
That's
though
disrespect
because
to Sarah.
I feel like in Caramoan, like Cochran was a part of a strong majority alliance with like 3 or 4 people on the outside of that, where Sarah was bouncing back and forth between
So, all right,
alliances.
I wasn't
and
comparing the.
still able to get herself to the end.
All right, so I wasn't. I'll clarify that. I wasn't comparing the games. I was comparing more how like they were set up well from the start because like with Sarah the big threats were screwed. So like she wasn't not a bigger threat, but she also wasn't a nobody player like a Sierra Don Thomas or a Haley Ford. Like she had some game in her, but just didn't place as well the first time. So like to me, one of those people was going to like dominate this season. So that's why I like compared it to Cochran because I think she
That's
was
fair.
one of the few people who was set up really well for that this season, even though they did play completely different games. That's why I had them placed
I can respect-
very,
I can
very
respect-
close.
I can respect that.
Let's go to 12, Amanda.
All right, number 12. All 4 of you have them on your list. I think the rest of them probably you all have on your list. I would probably assume. All right. Hart has him at number 18, Michael at number 10, Frank at number 13, and James at number 9, and that would be Tom from Palau with a golf score of 50.
Old Tom Westman.
I'm not the biggest fan of Palau or Tom, to be
No.
honest, but he did dominate the game in a way that we've never seen before at that point. They literally obliterated the other tribe. We've never seen that ever at that point like that, where they had one player left. And like he was smooth sailing besides when he was trying to turn on him later in the game, but he just kept winning challenges and dominating challenges where he couldn't there was no way touching him.
There was 3 rounds the entire game where Tom was eligible to go home. So like, while that's not like my favorite win, like I liked his version of it more than some others. So that's why I ranked him number 9 so high. And yeah, it's dominance, but it's a hard win to rank for me because of that. He's only vulnerable for 3 tribal councils in the whole game.
Which is he dominated like in a
Yeah,
way
he really did.
he dominated like it's not a way I prefer to watch, but we can't sit there and argue with the fact that he dominated his season.
Wasn't even close either.
I mean, but it was Tom and Ian though. Is the thing. It wasn't just Tom.
Yeah.
It was Tom and Ian.
But
Yeah.
he was only eligible to be voted out 3 rounds, and that was him.
But to me, like
Yeah.
Tom was Batman and Ian was Robin, essentially. Like there was
Yeah.
like Tom was
Like,
JT and
back and forth. I think, in my opinion.
versus Steve, like Steven, like yeah.
Like, granted, I think like Tom did a good job getting Katie more on his side, especially going into the final 6 and getting Katie away from like Jen and Greg. And I think that was more Tom.
Yeah.
But just in general, though, like I feel like it was Tom and Ian. I don't think it was one stronger person over the other. Granted, Tom deserved to be on this list. Like if Ian won the season, he deserved to be on this list too. If he would have won that game. But it was being at both of them. That's why it was lower for me.
The end game was really interesting because like they kind of did go against each other there, so it was like versus, and then you had the weird thing with Ian just giving up, but like because they won so much in the pre-merge, like they didn't. It wasn't until very late in the game where they had to think about going against each other. So it was like that's why I said this is kind of a hard one to rank, but definitely worthy where he is.
You're muted, Amanda.
Thank you. Okay, so just falling out of the top 10, which I'm kind of surprised he is, by the way. Hart has him ranked number 8. He doesn't believe he should be out of the top 10. Michael at number 12, Frank also at number 12, and James at 13, and that would be Tyson.
Ooh, I love Tyson's game.
Yeah, I probably could have put Tyson a little higher.
I think my 15 to like 8-ish area, I
hard to
play
rank
with a lot.
Hard to rank.
Yes. So, Tyson went to Rocks unnecessarily when he had the idol. He didn't need to go to Rocks. But other than that, I think that's the only thing. That's the only thing I can gripe about. That and like he kind of rubbed more Jarvis than him, but he rubbed some people the wrong way. But Jarvis was just much worse about it. So like when Katie did get rocked out, he is like, you see that stump over there? Terrible jury management.
It was funny, but it was such bad jury management. And it was an asshole thing to do.
He was
being nice leading up to that too. And then he says it, I'm like, oh my god.
That's such a bad move. Those two things are the reason why he came out to my top 10. Because like I feel like I have to nitpick when I get to these parts. Those two things could have cost them the game. They didn't, but they could have. So, and those are self-inflicted. It wasn't anything anybody else did. It was no dumb mistakes. It was his own dumb mistakes that almost cost him the game.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally with you on that rock draw. Like, no, and in no world should he have went to rocks there.
Unnecessary.
No.
He had an idol in his pocket. There was no need to do that. Like
no.
And yet, like you do have to hold that against him. That's kind of why he's outside my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what put him.
In time, he fucking dominated this season.
I mean that was a dumb move, and I will agree with you there, though. But other than that, though, he dominated everything, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree.
And he didn't need to win any challenges basically the whole time either.
He had a hurt shoulder.
He had a hurt shoulder. Yeah. He milked it though. He said
he definitely did milk it. But like, I give him respect though because he definitely he went. I mean, although it was stupid, he went to Rocks though for his alliance though. And if he would have came out, he had a 33% chance. If he would have came out on top of that though, he looks like a hero to his alliance.
But if he went home, he looks like the dumbest person ever. Again,
true.
Yeah,
but it's a risk and a payoff.
Yeah, I mean, but he could have also just played his idol because she was leaning towards voting. Like he knew she was voting. He should have played the idol for Monica.
Yeah, and it could have also been the way that Sierra played that too. Is she was just like, you guys are voting my way, or we're doing Rocks.
He should have just played the idol for
her. See, I partly blame Jervis for that. Like once it got to the consensus, because Jervis is like, all right, if you're not going to vote out Hayden, then we're going to Rocks. Even though Jervis had immunity, he wasn't going to Rocks. He was forcing Tyson's hand to go to Rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like he should have used his idol in that position instead of sitting on it and going to Rocks.
I personally think he should have just cut Monica right there and go and use the idol the next round if he needs it.
Yeah. I would have used the idol for Monica, but I did think this is nice because Tyson, while he was a great character, didn't play good the first 2 times, and then this time in a loved one season lost his loved one so early. So like he took the game so seriously and he dominated. He's worthy of a spot for sure.
All right. Before we enter our top 10, you guys need to use a bathroom or anything, get a drink?
No.
I've been doing it.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So coming up, breaking our top 10. Are you guys ready? This is kind of
Yes.
exciting. All right, number 10. Let's see. I have them all in order. I'm sorry. Number 10. Michael had it at 11, James had it at 15, Frank had it at 10, and Hart had it at 7, and that would be Todd Herzog.
What's the face for, Hart?
At 10? He's at 10? Wow.
What do you
James
think?
had him at 15.
That's a little low, I think.
All right, so I'll say my one thing. While I think he's so great, I think that Amanda played just as good or better of a game and fumbled the FTC, and he was sitting against a great Final Three where even Courtney could have won. So I think that sort of takes it down for it that it wasn't just Todd dominating out there, but like he did play a really good game and he did give one of the all-time FTCs and was against a good cast. So yeah, 15 I think was fair for me, and 10, but 10 is more. I may have had him too low. 10's a good spot.
Let me say this. I think James actually watched maybe a Chinese Survivor, not actually Survivor China, because he must have watched a really different game than what we did.
Listen,
What, you don't think Amanda played as good as Todd?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
I
think that Amanda wore her heart on her sleeve way too much that game, and she cared
That's
way
fair.
too much
That's
about
fair that she wore her
relationships than she did about winning that game.
But I think she
Where did
played.
you have Todd on your list?
where did I have
Me?
him?
Yeah, where did Frank have him?
Frank had him at number 10.
Oh, okay.
Also
Yeah, I think
You and
I
I are
think-
right around the same time.
yeah.
I had him at 11.
Yeah, I think he had one of the arguably one of the best newbie casts ever. Happened in our cast
First
review.
super
So
fan to win the game.
yeah, for a super fan to win the game, he dominated the game. Yes, with others, like it's not like he carried a bunch of nobodies to the end like some of the other winners did. He actually had some decent players with him. But he was fantastic FTC, arguably top 5,
Ever.
10
top
FTC
three FTCs.
of
Top
all
one
time.
for US Survivor, maybe.
So-
Yeah, I think possibly.
Yeah. So I mean,
He didn't stop playing the game either during FTC.
correct.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Correct. So all those factors laid in. Now, he would have been much higher if he would have got more votes. I think that's why I held up where he ended up at 10 for me. He did technically almost lose, but with the cast that he played with and with the FTC performance, I put him at 10.
And the people he sat with too. He sat with two pretty strong competitors. He didn't
Correct.
go.
Yeah.
He didn't
They were
go
all
sit with
great.
two lunch lady Denise's.
Yeah, I think it was more. I think James going home with the two idols and not playing one was more Amanda baiting him into thinking he was safe than Todd, but Todd still played it off really good that round. And then like the way Todd was able to at FTC, like the way he spoke to John Robert, like I'll never forget that. That was so great. It was amazing. He was able to boost his ego just enough for like John Robert to think that Todd got rid of him for a different reason and want to vote for him for that. Like Michael said, he never stopped playing the game at FTC.
Have you guys seen that meme of the old guy that said, "Oh my god, I'm at the bus"? That's what I imagine after he got done talking to Todd during that segment. That's what John Reveal felt.
Yeah.
Great season and winner though. I don't think 15 isn't me having him that bad. There's 46 games to rank, so it's not like I had him insanely low.
I think I messed up again, but we're just gonna roll with it because I didn't add that Hart didn't have this person on their list, and I just added Michael, Frank, and James's scores. So I'm sorry, I didn't fucked everything up.
That's all right.
It's okay. We'll keep going.
We're just gonna
We
keep
could
going.
just
Yeah,
slot
we're
up. Yeah.
keep going.
Probably wouldn't be that much lower.
This person is at number 9, but would not even be in the top 15 if I would have added it correctly. So, and that would be Natalie Anderson. So her real golf score, because Hart didn't have her on the list.
You didn't have her on the list?
No.
No. So The one I have down is that she has a golf score of 42, but that's not correct because Hart wouldn't. I would have had it his, so her real golf score would have been 53. So, or 63. So she would have been right between Cochran and Rich. So if you
Where
guys
did
want to
we?
her now, you
Where
can.
did us three have her?
Michael had her 16, Frank had her 14, and James had her 12.
Yeah, I had her at the highest.
So
I thought Frank would have had her in his top 10.
I love that.
I'm surprised you guys didn't have her. I thought I might have had her like average to where that maybe a little bit lower, but like I think she dominated that game.
She dominated. She dominated
been,
final 7 or 8 on.
Correct.
She was a
between
nobody.
Cochran and Rich for you guys, just so you know. She would have been between Cochran and Rich. Would have put her at number 16.
So Todd would have been number 9, and then like the next 8 would have been
correct.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So let me. All right, Hart. Why wasn't she on your list? Let's go from.
Oh my. So first of all, I mean, her pre-merge game was hard to tell because she only went to one tribal. Which, granted, like she was in a good spot. She was in the majority, fine. But like right at the beginning of the merge, okay, she gets in a lion, great. It's like a bunch of couples together, and they get rid of Josh, fine. And then they get rid of Jeremy, and they blindside her. And what does she do? Goes right back to the same people who just voted out Jeremy.
Okay. Because that was the right move.
I mean, maybe, but
there's no maybe about it. It worked. It worked for her.
I mean, she wants it worked for her. Whatever she did, she worked for her.
What's she gonna do?
I'm not gonna see her and say like Final 7 on. She didn't play that the best way. Final 7 onward, she played that the best way though. Do I think that she's one of the best players in the top 20? No.
Oh my god.
Her game wasn't flashy enough for me.
Flashy enough.
Not flashy enough.
I mean, great. Okay. Wow. She knew exactly where Missy and Baylor were voting because they were aligned with her, and then Keith was just going to do whatever the hell people told him to do. Wow, what a powerful move! You knew exactly who they were going to vote for.
Jackie, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? I did.
That was
I'm playing this idol for
Jackie. Could have been lying to her,
but she wasn't. She bossed her in front of the whole
jury. What if Jackie voted Natalie?
If Jacqueline voted Natalie, she's an idiot.
She's an idiot. She would have been Katora. That's what she would have been.
Yep. What I'm saying, though, is that, I mean, she took risky moves, fine, but I don't think it's flashy enough to be in the top 20. She probably would have been like by 21 or 22, but I don't think it was the best thing ever.
Oh.
See, I'm with you when you say, like, you don't really know what she was going on in the pre-merge game, because, like she went to one tribe, you couldn't really tell anything.
Mm-hmm.
Once Jeremy went home and she had her plan, like, she was going to get John out, but she had to play it cool. She had to keep going with the flow and then get John out later. If she played that any other way, it would not have worked. If she tried to go and work with like Reed and Wes and Keith and Alec, that would have blown up right in her face. She probably would have went home that round or the round after.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So she did exactly what she had to do, and she played it perfectly.
Yeah, and
she played probably from 7 on one of the best end games I've ever seen.
I want to
yeah, that's why. All right, I know my thing kicked me out for a second. I don't know why, but yeah, that's why I had her, because I think from 7 on, she may have played the best game out of any of these winners. And I think that while the rest of it is probably average in terms of winning game, I think that boosts it. So whatever I had it, I think I had her at 12. I think that's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Natalie Anderson is my favorite female winner, one of my favorite players ever. And the way she's so gangster with it, like, come on, she's like great. Jackie, did you vote for who I voted for? Jacqueline, did you vote for who I told you to? In front of the jury, in front of everybody.
Yes,
but she was doing it anyway.
She was doing it anyway.
She
did it on purpose.
On
purpose.
She's actually like not my favorite by any means, but I think she's one of the best. Who
won the Final Four immunity? Who won Final Four immunity?
Jacqueline.
Okay, so if Jacqueline would have voted Natalie, then Natalie goes in the revote because Natalie played the idol on Jacqueline. Jacqueline still gets to the end.
No, that was the final 5.
Then the end is Jacqueline, Missy, and Baylor.
No, that was final 5 because Keith was there still.
Right. No, but if Jacqueline would have voted for Natalie, told her, yes, I did exactly what you told me for Natalie.
In no world was she voting for Natalie.
because
I mean,
her
she could have easily went
relationships
for
with
Natalie. Natalie goes at 5. She wins immunity. Keith goes at 4. She wins the game.
and the only reason
she
why
doesn't.
she didn't get more votes is because they had loved ones on the jury.
She was surrounded by idiots.
Correct. Even though I think Jacqueline played a pretty good game.
Almost the rest of the people on this list were surrounded by idiots.
Yeah,
Not all of them.
I said almost.
Almost.
I will give Jacqueline props. I think she played a pretty good game, but I think Natalie was definitely better.
Natalie deserved to win that game, though. I still think she deserved to make the top 20.
We better move on before I have a heart attack.
So we're gonna argue for hours.
Oh no, you guys are gonna be really mad at Hart continuing. So just letting you know right now.
I also want to say I have the whole top 8 as my top 8.
All right, here we go.
I think
Hart, go hide for a little bit, okay? So Michael has his person number 8. James has them at number 3. Frank has them at number 4, and Hart has them at number 16, and that would be JT.
Wow,
Damn, that's crazy.
I thought I had him low at 8.
God, okay, I understand. This person probably could have been ranked a little bit higher. I understand that, but I will say, not that they played a bad game, though. I just don't think they maybe played as memorable of a game. What are specific moves that this person made? They won unanimously. Yes, I understand that before anyone brings that point up. Well, what are these specific moves that this person made to get them to the end? I feel like they had a really strong alliance. They set themselves up perfectly with a crumbling tribe that they came in. Whatever the coach's tribe, I don't know what they were called.
Canberra.
Yeah, whatever they're called. Yeah, them. But like they situated themselves perfectly within the middle of that and let them target each other. That was great for all 3 of them, not for JT. And I think going towards the end, though, the final 5, JT doesn't vote for coach. He votes for Aaron. But they're not going to turn on JT, though, because Steven had a deal with him. So I don't think JT's game is as impressive as y'all are saying.
I'm just going to remind you guys that he had Wendell ranked higher than him.
That's
crazy.
I
mean, JT, like, he comes from the tribe that was not in the majority going into the merge. And, like, while this was season 18, it was, like, the last real old school season because it only started with 16 people. There weren't a lot of idols or advantages, but
no swap.
At the merge of the game, no swap. At the merge, they were able to convince the 2 idiots, Tyson and Coach, to go with him and vote out the guy with the idol, Brendan, who was probably the smartest player from their alliance at the perfect time. And then JT and Steven set up the whole Exile Alliance thing, which wasn't really a thing, but it was like kind of used as leverage for JT the whole time. And like, I don't know, like JT was just so likable, and he was maybe not as smart as Steven, but like to me, he had just as good of an instinct on the game. So therefore he was just as strategic, and I mean he pretty much played a perfect game against a good cast. So
there's no pretty much about it. He did play a perfect game.
He played, right, so I've been pretty silent here for a minute. I did, you gather myself there for a minute. Look at the best argument you could have made against JT. You didn't even make it, and that's Fishback. Like Fishback did a lot of work for him. Yes, and he probably deserved some of the votes. But the fact is, from start to finish, JT was in the dominating position from start to finish, and he received 0 votes, and he got all the votes. That's a perfect game, first one ever. He does like. We're ranking the winning game. His winning game was he dominated from start to finish.
That's why he's my number 3.
I didn't bring up his future things at all.
We're not talking about that.
No, I know. I said that. I did not bring that up. That's what I said. But
JT the player would not be on this list.
I think it was the number 1.
Token Sheen's win is easy top 10.
I think it was the number 1 win until
you watch him play other games.
Until 2 seasons that were
Frank.
a good bit more recently than his season. So I think he was the #1 winner for a while. Like that's
Wait,
that's
James,
how
where
high
did you have him?
third.
I
That's
had him.
crazy to me.
I had him
Third's
fourth.
crazy to me.
I am fourth.
Well, Michael, I can understand who you had him at. What 10?
I had him at 8.
I can understand that. Maybe I had him low, but 3 or 4 is crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a
I
perfect.
had him 7.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
8
think Amanda,
is a
where we
little,
had him was probably where he should have been.
I think
agree.
8 I think 7 and 8's a little fair. Me and Frank maybe a little high, but I think 3rd and 4th
Yeah,
is
you're
perfect.
way. I think you Hart are too low, and the other two are.
I want to see who you have.
I feel like
Okay.
I
All right.
understand
Well, once we get to the people you guys have there, I'll explain why I have JT's higher.
Correct.
And see if that makes sense.
And well, now with JT here, the top 7 are all still my top 7.
I think all of mine are left or
The only one that wasn't on my top 7 was Cochran. So I had Cochran.
And JT.
Oh, I mean, JT's yeah. You're right.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Am I
Okay.
in the clear this time?
Huh?
Am I in the clear this time?
No.
No.
I'm sorry, honey. You're not. I mean, you're not as bad as the others. You're
Okay.
not as bad as the other 2. Okay. All right. So next, number 7, we're going to be talking about a lovely lady. Let's see. Where's my? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Hart had her ranked 11th. Michael had her ranked 4th. Frank had her ranked 8th, and then James had her ranked 7th. That would be Jenna. No, I'm just kidding. It's Parvati.
I was like, wait a minute.
perfect.
Harvey 11.
I did have Parvati 11, and the reason
I
I had
had top
Parvati at
10.
11,
You had her out of your top 10. I'm curious why.
Yeah. the reason I had Parvati at 11 was because she wasn't solely a dominating winner.
Yeah,
she was
that's
part
why I
of a
have her.
dominating
Yeah.
alliance.
Mhm.
Like if it's a final 3 and she sits with Suri wins the game.
Yes. And that's
Do I
why
think
I have
she's a dominating player 1,000%, but I don't think it was just her making the moves, and that's why I had her where I had her.
I agree.
Argue today.
After honestly, if you would have asked me this list 4 years ago, I probably had her like 2, 3. But after rewatching the season and talking about it more, realizing that she probably wasn't going to win against Suri if things would have played out like they were supposed to. And on top of that, she didn't even dominate Amanda. It's like she barely beat Amanda.
Let's see, Amanda.
That was
It could have been
that was
closer if Amanda didn't have another shit FTC also.
Correct.
Amanda pulled the great move at the final. What was it, 6 or whatever, with idled out Alexis because Amanda was going home.
Correct.
Everybody besides Parvati, I believe, right, voted for
Harvey
Amanda.
voted with Amanda.
But that was also Parvati's move too.
Correct.
She was hit to it. So Parvati did still freaking dominate this game and play great. But like my only reason for having her 7th and not like 3rd or 4th is that if it was a final 3 and not for the medevacs, like if it's a natural final 2, I may have her a little higher, but it wasn't a natural final 2, and Suri beats her if it's a final 3. So yeah, that's why I had her.
Do we think the final 4 would have played out differently if they knew it was going to be a final 3?
No,
So I think at that point they knew it was going to be a final 2. Do you think that Natalie still goes home?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Probably, yeah, probably.
I mean,
I'm leaving that up to a little bit of doubt. Like if they knew the game was going to go to a final 3, maybe they would have pulled something and maybe gotten Suri at 4. Maybe it would have happened. Maybe it wouldn't have. But since we have no proof of that,
I think the only time that it's like a shot, like like if it's Amanda versus Natalie in a final 2, I don't know what happens there. But I think that's the only situation where we don't know what happens for sure.
Because you don't know if Amanda flops the FTC or not.
It's Amanda. She's going to flop it.
Yeah, so
Natalie's probably going to win.
the other thing is, I think Amanda and Parv were never turning on each other, so they automatically were 2 votes there at 4. So like, if they had known it was a final 2, maybe, or if they had known thought it was the final three, maybe they do get rid of Suri at 4 and go with Natalie. So it's hard to say, but
As
yeah,
much
I
as I
mean,
wouldn't have
he's
wanted,
an amazing
I wanted
winner.
Serena to win that season.
Oh, I wanted Serena to win the season too. But Parvati's a great winner. I'm not upset about it.
Great winner.
Yeah, we're talking about from 3 to like 11. So it's like we're talking about the greats of the greats.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Who's number 6,
All
members?
right. Number 6. We are going to talk about this person finally. We'll talk about him again later, probably. That'll be Tony's game, Kagiyan 1.0, with a golf score of 28.
Where did everybody have him?
Everybody had him at, let's see. All of you had him in your top 10. Frank at number 9, James at number 8, Michael at number 7, and Hart at number 4. I also have Tony's first game ranked at number 4 with like Hart does. So
Pete Miller, let's go. I
think he did amazing, even if he had a couple hiccups.
I think he did amazing too. I think it's
he
literally drawing like you're picking little bits here or there that were like
for sure.
He made a lot of messes this season.
A lot of messes. Trish helped him immensely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If Trish is not there, he does not win the season.
Yep.
Not saying that goes for a lot of people though, but Trish was a backbone for his game until she left, and at that point, he had it all locked up.
I think the one thing though that Tony did in this game though that Trish had no impact on was his relationship with Spencer, which became really impactful through the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like this obviously like I love his game so much, so like to me only have it ranked 8th is like I almost wanted to rank it higher. But like he does make some mistakes, but like to me that's almost what makes it so great because it's like it's such a unicorn like win. Like we've never seen such a messy game win. But what does hold me back for it a little bit is that like I think there are people there that make it very far. Like Spencer obviously I think beats him at the end, but I think that Tasha and Trish have a good chance to beat him too because like Tony was really messy that season and like he was a super villain, but like he was finding idols, but he wasn't playing them correctly and stuff. But like he generally was like he was a strategic madman, and he was able to have like he had great relationships still. Like he still did have that. Like he definitely is the total package still. But like it was a mess. Like we've never seen him. I don't think we've ever seen a win this messy.
No, we're probably never going to see it again.
No. If you were talking about most entertaining wins,
yeah,
this might be number one.
Number one.
By far.
Yeah.
So, because, like, but he probably is the best player to ever play, like, the middle, where he went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It felt like every round he flipped a flapjack, and you think,
I think that was
done.
That was good to Trish. That was
a game that Sarah tried to play in Game Changers, and it worked out for her as well.
And to me, the best thing about it was that, like, so after they got Sarah out, because Cass flipped on the merge
move.
His tribe had the majority, but like Tony ends up still deciding to flip rounds later, just out of almost boredom, essentially. Like he's like, I'm messy. This is something I'm gonna do, and Tony was really paranoid that game too. Like he was.
Oh yeah. What do you think he made spy shacks for?
Yeah.
So I didn't come in till Cambodia. Like, did you guys watch Kagiyan live?
Yes.
I did.
So, like,
I guess I was the only one who did.
So, Michael, let me ask you: when you were watching Kagiyan, did you sit there and watch Tony's game and said, "Oh yeah, Tony's gonna get to the end"? Did you honestly think he would?
Hell no!
Exactly. I didn't know who won.
That's what's impressive.
Every week, I'm just watching him like this dude is the best entertainment on television. When's he going to get his comeuppance? When's he going to get voted out?
That's what's so impressive, and that's why I had him so high.
Yeah, which, like, we're drawing straw. Like, I'm not going to tell you that's egregious, but it just, like, when I really sit down and focus on it, that Trish was the one who pulled off the merge vote. That wasn't Tony. He misplayed the idol.
Yeah. But then
and
they had the majority still.
he's still the majority. Still, there was like Trish really put out some fires for him to stay in the game. If Trish
Oh
was
yeah,
if Trish was like ready to vote him out, he would have left.
yeah, and he had the little
Trish doesn't play again.
Yeah.
like he had the stupid stuff too, like the top 5 baby
Top
thing.
five,
Like,
baby.
Top 5, baby.
Top five, baby. Which is terrible move going into the merge.
But Tony also had a lot of good moments too in this game. He got Spencer to waste his idol at final 8. When if he
Yes.
used it on Jeremiah, I think Wu would have went home that round, and the whole
Yeah.
rest of the game is different.
Oh, so good.
Tony's lie about the super idol was
oh,
fantastic.
brilliant.
Brilliant.
And
All they knew it was an idol with special powers. That's all
Yeah.
they got told.
Yeah.
And he made it seem like this idol's good at 4, and when in reality, he was only good at 5. It was super.
And the fact that
beautifully.
the fact that he was able to make Wu his lapdog after screwing him over so many times earlier in the game, like, just was baffling to me. Like,
and
The way he revealed what he did with the super idol, and after seeing Spencer's face, when he's like, "Oh my fucking god, we could have gotten Tony out that night."
yeah.
And then Wu the next day sees that happen. He's like, I'll take Tony to the end.
Yeah. It just that's one of the soju. It's like, woo, man, you gotta take me. Honor. I want this, I want
Woo,
that.
man.
Come on, man. You my man.
I don't speak llama.
Great.
Like I
That's
said,
one of my favorite moments in Survivor ever.
so funny. But yeah, all right. I mean, I could talk about Kagian all day.
I know. All right. I know it's getting late for you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on. Before we move on.
Oh no, is he gonna play it?
Sorry, I don't talk llama. I'm supposed to talk llama to you.
No, I just want to watch Kagian.
I'm finishing up Blood versus Water now, and I'm moving right into Kagian.
I'm a good bit into All Stars, guys. Just so you know. All right, so we're breaking top 5.
Top 5, baby.
Top five, baby.
All right, so at number 5 we have not as talked about as much, but very highly regarded. Would be Earl from Fiji. Hart had him ranked number 5. Michael had him ranked number 6. Frank had him ranked number 7, and James had him ranked number 6.
Okay, so all kind of
right there.
Yeah, I think that's the closest we all 4 have been on.
Yep,
Sure.
So far that is.
Look at us bonding.
Yeah.
A great player, absolutely wonderful
Fantastic.
player. The only thing that is like, if Dreams would have followed through with the car deal, and it's Cassandra, Yowman, and Earl. It's definitely he doesn't win unanimously. We all know that, but does he still win? And I feel like he still
He only
does.
gets one vote.
You said what?
He only gets one vote in the whole game as well, so he would have had a perfect game.
That's true too.
He had the one vote, so would not have had a perfect game.
No,
Right,
that's
so
what she's saying.
If he sits though at the end with Yowman, he's not winning unanimously.
No, but I think
I think he still wins though. I believe,
Yeah.
which shows how dominant the game he played.
I mean, I think like we say intuition, like it was almost like he was in control for a while, so like he didn't face that much adversity, but like just how aware he was of like exactly what was going on and like how he was able to bait what was going on around him, like almost it just led to like almost a steamroll. Like the season's almost more, it's one of those that's almost more boring, like the next couple we're going to talk about, because this player was so good. Like Earl was so great, and I think like there is a chance Yowman could have beaten him, but I think Earl played a better game for sure. Like I think he absolutely dominated.
Earl is not a flashy player, not a great TV presence, but he was just so calm, cool, collective, and always knew what the right move to make. He had a solid FTC. I think him not coming for Winners at War was one of the worst. Did the not gets they didn't get. I would have loved to see Earl play. I know he got asked, and something came up, which is
His
very
wife was having a baby, right?
His wife's
Yeah.
a baby.
yeah, very
He had a couple
disappointing.
times where he was asked back to play and couldn't. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the more dominant wins, and like it almost like I said, makes the season not as good because he was so good.
You stink,
Well,
dog.
we're going to get into a couple other people like that, but I
Yeah,
think
that's
what Frank described Earl as like calm, cool, collected, like maybe not great for TV. That's why he's such a great player.
Yeah.
You have to be like the 3 C's, calm, cool, collected, and you need to keep everything in and just step back, assess, and then make your move. And
Well, that's the game that works.
exactly what
For
Earl did.
that game doesn't work for Tony. That game works for Earl. You know, you
Did
have
Earl win
that works for you.
immunities? Did he win immunities in this season?
I have to look.
I don't know. Hart, do you know?
Give me 1 second.
I don't know.
I want to say no.
Maybe one. Frank, do you know if Earl won any immunities this season of Fiji?
He had immunity at the merge when they split into the 2 groups, but individual immunity, no, he did not.
Okay.
And he was never in danger of going home. Like
Nope.
Never-
Besides the
he
one
got
vote
one
he
vote
got
for
in
you.
episode 3, he did not get a vote.
Yeah.
It was just a random vote.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a random vote. That was the only thing that kept him from a perfect game.
Yep.
So what did he actually? Like,
He
what
won
did he
unanimously.
do? What makes him a top 5 player? What did he do in the game?
Dominated the game.
Yeah.
He dominated from the game from start to finish. He's 1 vote away from having a perfect game. He won
If you
unanimously.
didn't throw a random ass vote on him for no reason, he would have had a perfect game.
Yep, and he had relationships everywhere. He was never in danger.
And that one vote, they didn't think he was going home either.
No.
So
Well,
he
and-
wasn't really necessarily
So
like
the best thing he did, I'll say the best thing he did. The best thing he did was the 4 horsemen or whatever it was. It was like Edgardo, Mookie, Alex, and there was one more person.
Dreams.
It was the other one.
Dreams.
Dreams, yeah. So they had the idol, and that idol, if it was used correctly, could have really swayed the game in their favor, and that's when Earl may have been in trouble. But Earl was able to trick them that round. He was the one who got them to incorrectly play the idol because
Yeah,
That was fantastic television.
yeah, that was the best thing.
When
That was the
Edgardo
best thing
went home,
he did.
when the first Edgardo vote flipped over and his face, all their faces
Yeah.
dropped at the same time. It was
So good.
So
you see
while I
Earl
will,
sitting there laughing.
I really don't like Fiji at all, but it's kind of like what Frank says about 40. Frank likes 43 more, but like it's like how I feel about 43. There is a couple really good episodes though, because like that round is so good, and then the round where Yao Man plays the idol is really good, and then the whole finale. I think the finale is pretty good.
I think
I don't know
Fiji
what round.
overrated.
I don't like it at all, but some people think it's like an average season. I think
do.
it's like
I don't have it bottom 5.
yeah, and like I don't hate your. We'll talk about One World when we get there. Like I don't hate that you don't hate One World as much, but like Fiji, I have really low, but like I could see why some people have it a little bit higher.
Do I think that it was fair to do like the luxury versus nothing? No, obviously.
Oh, that's
yeah,
what's horrible.
you know that's what's gonna happen. We don't need to talk about Fiji.
Yeah.
All right.
So I wanted to say that. So Earl, James and Frank mentioned about the different times they wanted Earl back. Earl was invited back for Micronesia, Heroes versus Villains, Blood versus Water, Game Changers, and Winners at War. 5 times they've asked him to come back, and he had to decline every time.
Oh, such a
Yeah, because they've wanted him. They've pretty much just been like, whenever we can get him back, we will. So they just keep asking him. I
I think
guess. But,
every returning season he was eligible to come back. They've asked him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Survivor 50?
50.
Oh, that would be a dream, wouldn't it? All right. So number 4, Hart, you better go turn your camera off again.
What did you do?
You've been getting some strays this time, man.
I already know what's coming.
I know, honey. All right. So
it couldn't be that bad.
we have Frank ranking him at 5, Michael and James having him at 2, and then Hart having him at 9, Jeremy.
That's not that
9?
bad. 9's not that bad.
Thank you, James.
No, 9.
So I haven't met 2, but all right. I will say I said this going in. My number 1 was so easy, and then 2 through 10, maybe even 2 through 12 was so hard. So like that was like splitting hairs. So like I don't think you should get any shit for having him at number 9.
I completely disagree.
Number 9 is not
one
like
was easy.
that's
I
the
think
top
two
tier
was
winners,
easy.
though.
3 through 6 is where I kind of like was kind of you could put them anywhere you want. Had
All right,
Jeremy played one of the best games ever. 9.
and I have him at second,
Yeah.
and so I agree with you. But you can go on if you think that 9 is absolutely ridiculous.
So, like, I looked back at my list, and I could put him at the highest for me at 6. But the highest.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that
Like I said,
unbelievable.
Like he at minimum,
I
he's
am not
top
high
5.
on Jeremy. I
Seriously, 10 was splitting hairs for me. Splitting hairs. Like I could have I had Jeremy second. I could have had him 10. But that being said, this was like maybe the toughest strategic cast ever that he won against. Like
And
I'm very high on
through the game.
I'm very high on his win, while I'm also very high on Spencer's game and Kelly Wentworth's game too. I think like he dominated against really good competition, and he like almost invented a strategy this season where he aligned himself with the people who may have been perceived as bigger threats because they could go up before him, and like there wasn't just set alliances this season. So like he was building amazing relationships and working with other people, and like he played this game on a mission, and like it was one of my favorite games to watch too, as well as like it being one of the best wins. So yeah.
Like you mentioned all the people like he put Spencer, Kelly, all the different people like the high caliber cast. He beats any of them at the end.
Not Kelly.
Yes, he beats Kelly.
I think it's
It's tough. When he drops the kid thing,
When he drops the
definitely
thing, I think he wins.
Before that,
But I think his game alone was better than Kelly's.
I think Kelly would have got
I
for
agree.
sure Sierra, Cass, Abby the votes, maybe even Keith.
I was
But
thinking maybe
that's
even Joe too.
Yeah, Joe is Joe though. So
Yeah.
no. So I think
Jeremy won when he won. You can ask Frank.
the whole time.
I was so disappointed in his win.
I love Jeremy. I think Jeremy played an amazing game.
Well, I did too.
The only thing that holds it back from me is if Kimmy wasn't such an idiot, he probably would have went home that round. But then the way he treated Kimmy in front of the jury was very poorly, and those are the two negatives I could say.
Kimmy voted for him that round.
Yes,
He tried to get him out. He had the idol and saved himself.
No, but he was still kind of a dick during the round.
He was a dick.
He absolutely was. That was uncalled for.
That's what I'm saying. That was a negative.
Spencer was more than Jeremy.
Yeah, but I'm
Not
splitting
that round.
hairs.
Spencer in general was way more of a dick than Jeremy.
And he also wasn't on the plan for Fishback. Those are the three negatives I have for Jeremy's game. That's it.
Yeah.
So
besides that, he was in the majority every single round.
Getting through that great of a cast, almost completely.
No, and it's one where too, like it was a fluid game. Like it wasn't just set alliances. So like he was able to be in the majority the entire time while everything was shifting so often. And it was because his relationships were so good, and the way he was trying to align himself was with people that would be targeted like before him. So when he was able to flip off of that, it was like, well, it's easy for me to just go against this person now.
And he also
I'll
wasn't
get rid of them at the perfect time.
part of the Savage plan either. That could have easily been him.
But that's a
But
majority.
it wasn't going to be because he had a way better relationship with those girls than Savage did.
Yeah, exactly.
But hypothetically, they were targeting one of those guys, and they even said
because his social game was better, and they were not going to target Jeremy.
But I'm talking about the reason why he was, I was splitting hairs. Those are the hairs that I got to split.
Yeah. Like I said, 2 through 10 is splitting hairs.
He went through almost the whole game with at least one idol in his pocket the entire time.
Yeah.
And when he was the clear biggest threat in the end game, especially like Final 7, Final 5, didn't get a vote against him.
No.
Yeah.
He played the idol when he had to, so and successfully.
Him playing the idol to save Steven the round he did was genius.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
Kept a
agree.
loyal lapdog with him and got rid of probably his biggest threat at that point.
But Steven
then he
went out the
played
next
it on
round.
himself.
Steven went out the next round.
Okay, but he needed Sierra out that round.
But correct me if I'm wrong, he played an idol on himself correctly too.
At Final 6, yep.
Yeah.
That he didn't tell anybody about either idol he had.
Yep.
That
So
was impressive.
when Kelly
That
plays
was
the idol at 6, you saw Jeremy tell Spencer, like, she's got an idol, she's gonna play it. We can't all vote for her. And then
And
Jeremy
what we
looked at it,
need?
he's like, and then he popped up and played his.
We need more of that. We need more people that just don't tell anybody about their idols because that's the
I
smart
agree.
thing to do. Just don't keep that shit to yourself.
Him and
Maybe
Kelly
tell
both
one
this season.
person.
Him and Kelly didn't tell a soul about either idol that they both had.
That's why people are so high on them both from that season.
Yeah.
Here's your mutant.
All right.
Final 3.
Final
These top
three.
three, I'm very curious about these top 3.
All right. At number 3, Michael had him at 5, James had him at 5, Frank had him at 3, and Hart had him at 3, and that would be Rob from Redemption Island. Collective score of 16.
Rob
Did you all put him at 5 because of the cast he played with?
Yeah, so he's 2 or 3.
Fourth time.
He's 2 or 3 if it's not for the 4th time and the cast he played against. But other than that, he dominated, and it was really an impressive game. And can't say much else. There wasn't really a roadblock in the game, and there was a couple specific things like
He threw his idol in the volcano.
Yeah, like the mat round specifically was really impressive.
Oh,
and,
that mat round at the merge was great.
yeah, and he was just able to align himself with such goats, like just so.
This season was Survivor saying, "How can we gift wrap Boston Rob a win?"
Literally.
What, Boston Rob or Russell?
No,
I'm surprised Michael had it ranked that high. To be honest, I thought you would have.
It was a random draw.
Listen, he dominated the game.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
Boston Rob
He
could
had
have
behind
randomly
the
drawn
list.
to Zapatera.
So I have a question. All right. So earlier in the pod, we talked about Cochran, and we said I want to compare a similar game. What's such a huge difference from Rob and Cochran? This is his fourth
Rob was
time.
the leader. Cochran was a follower.
No,
Not in his win. Cochran wasn't really a follower in the win.
no,
Cochran was totally fine letting Philip try to run the show.
because Philip was going to crash and burn.
You knew, yeah, I agree with Frank. I'm with Frank on that.
This is
Cochran-
Rob's
yeah.
fourth time playing. The cast is worse. You can't
Worse,
say it's better than Caramoan.
No,
And so that's why I don't understand why you hate so much on Cochran, but you were able to put Rob
Well,
this side.
my thing is though, like Rob should have been the biggest like target. Like why? Like if he wasn't Boston Rob and like just able to be like a almost like coach, not coach the player, like coach as in like coach these people up type figure to the point where they're not even going to get rid of him. Like that's almost what it felt like. So like the season's so bad, but like I just couldn't not rank it
No,
top five.
he's a wonderful winner. Though. I mean, I think comparing him to Cochran's a little ridiculous. No offense, Frank, but I think like once the Matt Elrod move happened though, that was brilliantly played though. He dominated. Like I mean, that was just clear.
at that point, it was game set match. At that point,
yeah. Straight
Frank,
up,
you could have said it was. You could have called game after episode 1.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to win.
No, but I will say though, it wasn't just handed to him though because it was a random draw. Rob Mariano's not going to lead the Zapateras if he draws the purple.
How random really was it?
You don't know. It was a draw. That's all he did.
No way they were going to let Rob go on Zapatera.
It's probably as random as the second chance voting was.
All right, I have a take, and I'll see if you guys agree with this. If he wins All Stars, that win is ranked second for me.
If he wins
I
All
agree.
Stars,
I think his All Stars game was better than his Redemption.
I would put it first.
Compare the caliber cast.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I put it first.
Second would be for me. It would be second.
It would be
For
second.
sure.
It would be second or third for me.
I think I can predict the top two, but I mean, I don't think that's.
I mean, the top 3 are my actual top 3. So.
I mean, I guess number 2 is my 4th person, but there's a reason they're 4th instead of second. So I could have had them second. All right, I think we talked enough about Red Dog. crap.
Do you want me to release number 2 and number 1 at the same time, or
Just release number 2. Release number 2.
okay, that's fine. All right, so number 2. James had them at 4, Michael had them at 3, Frankham had that at 2, and Michael had them at number 1, and that would be Kim Spradlin.
I didn't have
I
it at number one.
had him at number 1.
No, Hart had him at number 1. My
You
bad.
said Michael.
Oh, I'm sorry. James had him at number 4. Michael had him at number 3, or had her at number 3. Frank had her at number 2, and Hart had her at number
4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
4, 3, 2, 1 with a collective score of 10.
I'm less upset that Kim's number 1, and then
The
James
person who should be number 1 isn't number 1 on your list.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I
Focus on Kim. Focus on Kim.
Let's focus on Kim.
What's coming at number 1, I understand completely though. But the reason I had Kim at number 1 was because her very first time playing and to dominate the way that she did every fucking round that she did.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch. And I know everyone's going to say, oh, look at the people she was playing with. They were all idiots. But
was all
still,
Rob's people. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was her first time.
That's why Kim's a few spots higher on my list than Rob is.
Yeah.
It's like to me,
I'll explain Go ahead, James.
It's like the dominance. This is just real quick. It's like the dominance of Brian Heidick type of like, everybody thinks I'm your number 1 type of thing, but I'm lying to you type of way. But it was in like not in a scummy way, like a charming and like likable way. And like, I think that's almost what makes Kim so great. Like the only thing that took away from number 2 for me is that like, I think Jeremy and JT just played against way better competition. And that's the only reason I had Kim at number 4.
That's why I have Kim at 3 and not 2. Her competition was dog shit.
I will give you that, but it was her very first game.
Yeah.
And
that's what puts her ahead of Rob.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, she absolutely should be ahead of Rob.
No,
I'm glad we have her ahead of Rob.
But,
I'm glad we have her ahead of Rob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I've always said, their games are very similar, except for the fact that Kim did it on her first shot, Rob did it on his 4th shot, which is why I always say Kim was better. But besides that, their games are almost identical.
There were icons on Wormworld like Christina Cha and Tarzan, but
that's one of the worst.
No, but in all reality though, like, if Kim goes when Troyzan wants her to go, what happens in that season? No, she just was able to take control though, and you have to give her credit though. Like the person who's going to be at number 1, there was votes though that they weren't in control of that, and it's fair. Kim ran everything, and Michael doesn't believe me, but we'll go into it a little bit. But Kim ran everything.
Oh, she did. There was not one thing she didn't run.
Yeah.
Like, was there one? Did Kim face it? She got votes.
And Troyzan tried to vote her out a couple rounds, but Troyzan tells Jay to try to get the numbers to vote out Kim, and what does Jay do? Runs right to Kim.
Yeah.
Right. And
so did Kim get a vote? Kim got a vote when Troyzan went home, correct?
No, it was final 10. Troyzan voted for her, and then final 9. Troyzan and Leaf both voted for her.
He sort of tried, but he got like almost nobody on board with it.
Mm-hmm. He tried like hell.
Yeah, she was never.
Rounds, he tried.
She was never really in true danger of going home. So like, yeah, it's a dominant game, and she won.
The round that Troyzan did go home, Kim had immunity.
And like, I'm not like I said, I'm not as big of a fan of just immunity run wins, and Kim won I think 3 or 4 of them, but like she didn't even need them at all. Did not need them.
At that point, her winning them was to make sure who she wanted to go home didn't have them.
Did she have an idol too?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
That she never needed to use.
Her convincing Alicia and Christina to vote out Tarzan at 6, incredible.
So stupid.
Yeah.
It was so good on her part though.
No. I meant for Alicia and Christina.
Oh yeah, it was dumb on their part though, but incredible on Kim's part.
Wait, was it Tarzan or Troyzan?
Tarzan.
Tarzan was already voted out.
Those two. Imagine Alicia, Christina, and Tarzan as the final 3 of that season.
Oh God,
it'd be so bad.
Oh my God.
They both bought hook, line, and sinker that Kim was with them.
Yeah.
Listen, Kim dominated. There's nothing more we can say. Like, there's not a
Yeah.
bad thing I could say about Kim's game, to be honest with
No.
you. And One World.
There's a lot
it-
bad I can say about One World, but not about Kim.
Not about Kim.
Yeah.
Not about Kim at all. I don't think she made a single mistake. So, can you think of any? Like, I'm being
Not
general.
off the top of my head.
No.
I don't think she's made a single mistake the entire game, which
No.
is just
No, all right. If I'm gonna nitpick maybe the smallest thing, she maybe in hindsight, it doesn't matter because it didn't happen. But like, she maybe shouldn't have got rid of Kat because I might have thought that Christina or Sabrina would have been smarter enough to like vote her out. She should have just dragged Kat.
yeah,
as far
but
as
she made Kat cry, and that was fantastic for us all.
It was.
And I was
Blindsides was fun and exciting, James.
what?
Said Blindsides are
Blindsides
fun and
were fun,
exciting, so
yeah.
she had the blindsider.
Oh, trust me, I was all about Kat going as soon as
That
she
was
could
so
possibly
funny.
get off the screen. So.
All right. Our last one, number one, obviously.
It's Fabio.
Yeah, it's Fabio. How did you know, Hart?
Michael
so sorry.
Gabler. Michael Gabler.
Avery. All right. Our number one is ranked number one by everybody except for Hart. We've had him number two, and that would be Tony's 2.0 game, Winners of War. Take it away, gentlemen.
3.0. 3.0.
Oh, it is 3 point. Well, it's a second win.
Second win.
Second win,
Yeah,
yeah.
second-
So the only reason I had him at number 2 instead of number 1 was one, it took him 3 tries to do this.
He won
But,
twice.
I mean, one twice. No, you get what I'm saying
He
though.
won on his first try.
No, like he had the greatest arc of anybody though, because he was
I
able to
disagree.
change his, he was able to change his game around so much.
He was a hero.
See how he did that though. But there were certain votes, like when Denise played her idols, Tony had no idea about that. At Final Five, when Ben went home, Tony had no idea about that. And that's the only reason I put Kim ahead of Tony. But Tony played a phenomenal game.
Like, you can't beat a better cast. That's
No.
even Heroes versus Villains cast is an iconic cast, but like, you're playing against all winners, which a lot of them only play. There's like a handful of them. Half of them only played once.
Yeah.
Like, but so like their only time we see them play, they won the game. His Sophie move is one of the greatest moves I've ever seen in my life. It's just so good. It just the way he's able to put it together last minute, and
With the people on the out.
with the people on the outs. And Jeremy was so skeptical. He didn't want to do it. He literally is like, Jeremy, I need you to do it, and you need to go get Michelle. He didn't even talk to Michelle himself. Like, that's how risky this move was. And it was able to pull it off. Blindside Sophie with an idol. Blindsiding his number one, Sarah. And it just one of the
Sarah
the
was
best.
so mad at him after
So
that.
mad.
And she went right back to him.
And then Edge should have killed him. It almost did kill him.
Oh, but she gave him a piece of her mind first.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
If Edge wasn't around, he probably would have dominated the game even more.
Yeah. Because Natalie was a huge thorn in his side from like Hart said not. Part of his not voting, like the Ben thing, was like just Natalie coming back, just throwing things off. I think Tony like votes correctly the entire game, besides like not knowing when Denise idled out Sandra. I think that would be the only time Tony wouldn't have.
Yeah,
been
but he was still the technical majority from that vote.
Correct.
Yeah. But so this is what I have to say the most. So like, obviously, anyone who would have won this season would have been ranked high by default just for beating all the other winners. But like, I'm glad that we got out of this all winners season just such a great win to go along with it, where like it could universally be agreed that he played so good and deserved to win. And I truly do think, like, cast aside and like the way it was, that this is like the best win, because like going in, like a lot of the big names and big threats, like they were out earlier taken care of, and like Tony was able to build these relationships, like, is such a strong like men with Sarah, despite their beef in the past, and then with Sandra for the time being, and then at the merge, he was basically able to uh, have Nick and Ben back and forth as his lapdogs, despite them not being like necessarily in his alliances the entire time. Like he was able to build these great relationships and work with different people. And he wasn't really like this messy like villain like he was the first time. And like he still did. He this time he won 4 individual immunities. He got 2 idols like um or what I don't know if it was only one idol
He had
actually,
one.
but one idol. But I mean he won 4 individual immunities. He pulled off blindsides like the fire tokens thing. Like Parvati exhorted him, and he was able to get all his tokens back because his social game was so strong. Like he should have been voted out so many different times, and he
But
was
even the way he
never
played that idol,
he
though,
was
it was
never
after the
targeted.
round. It was after the round he fucked over Sarah, and he was like, I think I'm gonna play this for Sarah." Sarah's like, "No, don't even bother about that." He's like, "No, okay, not gonna play it." And
He
he
never
still didn't get targeted after
he
that
never
with an idol in his pocket.
yeah.
And the only
He
reason
never
he played it at 6 when he played it was because Sarah's an idiot.
Sarah's
They were complaining the whole time.
Idiot.
I always listen to you. You need to follow me. I'm right, and she was wrong.
And it's just
She's wrong.
Tony played the game of being able to like act like this dopey guy who made mistakes in Game Changers the first half, and then really be able to come out swinging him when it mattered. And I mean, he never got a vote cast against him this season. It should have been a perfect game. He should have got all the votes at the end.
All of them.
But
He
Edge
should
was
have
in
got.
play.
He should have got it. He should have got
If
every
Edge was not in
single
play,
one
he
of
would have
those
won
games.
unanimously.
I
Correct.
think.
Tony to me is the perfect survivor player, cast, whatever. He's the perfect. He played a messy game with a bunch of advantages. He played a social game with a lot of immunity wins. He's fantastic in the confessionals, fantastic entertainment, and he's not afraid to make big moves. There's not a negative Tony on my screen.
Did anyone think at what looking at the winners of war cast that he was going to get even to the merge?
No,
Zero shot.
I did not.
Zero
Nope.
shot. There
And
was
like I said, yeah. Go ahead.
I did like 4 or 5 fantasy survivor drafts that season. Tony was constantly picked in the last round in every single one of them.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's like I compare it, like, obviously the games itself were different, but like his situation, Winners of War, was very comparable to Suri and Game Changers, where all the big names went pre-merge except Suri.
Mhm.
And in Winners of War, all the big names went pre-merge except for Tony. And they
I
both
think-
got far without advantage again, and they both probably win their seasons.
Yeah. I think it was constantly Sandra has no chance, Rob has no chance, Tony has no chance. Those
That
three
Parvati has no chance.
and Parvati had no chance. Those 4 going into the season, a lot of people felt like those 4 people have no chance of winning the season. And we were correct on Sandra, Parvati, and Rob, which Sandra kind of left in fluky situations. I don't know what she would have done later on in the game. But they really didn't have a chance to win, and Tony was able to do it when I thought there was 0 chance he was going to.
Well, he was able to adapt his game, which was an impressive thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's just so yeah, he's the perfect survivor player for entertainment, gameplay, it all to me. If Tony could play every season, I'd throw him on there. I don't care.
You want to be the Johnny Bananas of Survivor?
Yes, please.
You excited for traitors, Tony?
Yes. If they don't make him a traitor, I'm gonna be a little upset.
He's gonna be
Traitor. They can't.
They made Dan and Parvati a traitor. Come on, make Tony a
Well,
traitor.
Parvati was
Parvati
for the traitors, not because they asked him to be.
That's
Tony's
fair.
gonna be framed as the
the traitor
because
no
he's
matter
even
what.
more known as Dan,
He
than
might as
Dan.
well be a traitor because they're just going to think he is.
Yeah.
Immediately. All right. So what about the bottom 5? I know
Fives.
it was
Okay,
pretty
what is
much
the bottom 5? Let's go over that real quick.
Okay, so bottom 5s, you all had 4. I think if I did this correctly, you all had 4 of the same. And then each one of you had a different 5th option, except for Frank and Hart, who had the same exact list. Frank and Hart. So the 4 people that you guys all have in common is Natalie White, Chris Underwood, Jenna, and Bob.
No.
No?
Okay, never mind. I thought you meant bottom 4. You're right.
Okay.
As the 4.
Yes,
yeah, it has the 4. Yes. I'm like, motherfucker, please don't tell me I fucked up a 3rd time.
No, you're good.
All right. So, and then the 2 people that Michael and James both have instead of Fabio is Amber and Gabler.
So me and Hart have Fabio.
Yes.
The fact Fabio's on your bottom 5 is a little tough for me to swallow for me, guys.
How do you not have Amber in your bottom 5?
I
have Amber second to last.
I could not believe that Michael didn't have Gabler.
No, Amber's better than that.
I think Amber's win is she did some stuff in that season more than Fabio.
Yeah,
I have Chris
2 quits to get him to where he got.
I have Chris last. I have Natalie second to last, Jenna 3rd, Bob, and then Gabler. I have Fabio 6th. I think Fabio is at least like.
I also had Fabio 6th.
I think Fabio's around with Gabler. I prefer Fabio to Gabler. So
I have Chris last. I have Amber second last, then Natalie, then Jenna, then Bob.
I have. Oh, where'd it go?
I gotta find my list. I have Chris, Fabio, Natalie, Bob, Jenna.
yeah, Jenna is really bad too. Like I think she's 3rd. Like I think Natalie and Jenna, if Chris didn't exist, are the 2 worst, in my opinion.
Natalie did more than Amber did.
Bob is right there.
Yeah, I had Chris, then I believe Bob. Bob was really bad, like really
Well,
bad.
we all had Bob in our bottom 5.
Yeah.
Bob was just.
The thing is, Bob and Jenna deserve to win. That's the crazy thing.
That's how bad those FTCs were.
I don't know. Sugar played a better game than them, but she was just a bitch.
Yep.
I think Bob should have won. Still, Bob would have had my vote, even though he's.
As a fan, I wanted to vote Sugar. As a player, I probably wouldn't want to vote Sugar.
No.
But yeah, I think bottom 5 is a lot easier than the top.
I'm fixing the list right now, and I'll send you guys a picture of it.
Okay.
I remember looking at Amanda's list. She had Jenna last.
Yeah.
She's
a giant bitch, and she didn't do anything.
She's terrible. She wanted to quit that game too.
Yeah, she did. She quit All Stars. But yeah, I think this was a fun list. Who are you guys? Who are you most mad about? One person about somebody's list.
If you guys would like me to list them, I can tell you the winners that did not make the list.
I think we got them all.
I think we're good.
I think we figured it out.
I was kind of surprised that no one at all put Ethan on theirs.
He was close to. He was like 23 or 40.
I feel like he would have been in the same ballpark as. Like,
I think that was the only. I think that was the only winner that I was. And Mike Holloway.
Ethan, Tommy, and
Mike
Holloway.
No.
I mean, if you respect the physical game.
I don't.
Oh well, there you go.
I
don't think anybody here does.
I have Holloway's higher than I don't have him bottom 10, but
he's in the 30s for me.
No one put Michelle. No one put Adam.
I didn't have.
No one put Gabler. Not Gabler. Marianne.
Nobody put Nick Wilson.
Nick Wilson was hovering bottom 5.
Marianne, that's crazy. He's
I think
bottom 15.
I had my bottom 5 Bob, and then you go on Fabio, Gabler, Erica, then Nick.
All right, Frank, where did you have Erica? We have to have it. Before we stop recording, we need.
Okay, so I had Erica around 30.
Okay. You only have her maybe 7.
Yeah, I have her close to 20, the top in the 20s, and honestly
35.
I have her 39.
I have her low 30s, probably 30, 31.
I have her 37 or something like that, maybe 38.
My disagreement with Michael is that he thinks she's a bottom 5 winner, and I completely disagree.
She was.
Yeah,
I didn't put her in my bottom 5.
All right, close. Bottom 10.
Yes, she's a bottom 10 winner.
She's close to. If not, she's not touching my top 20 or 20 or into the 20s. She's right there. I think she had a more impressive game than Marianne.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
I think Marianne had a strong end game, but she was the one going out pre-merge if they lost. Before we got into this tangent, let me end this recording. But if you guys made it this far, thank you guys for watching. Let us know who had the hottest take. Who would be your top 20? But yeah, we're gonna do more of these. We have a lot of fun doing these. Be on the lookout. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.